Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday the 27th of August 2016. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
It's already getting hot in here.
And Robert Kemp.
I'm not going to take off all my clothes.
No.
Man, it is pretty warm.
It's even in this
I'm in a basement and it's warm. Surrounded by the earth.
Yeah, you should have the most cooling.
It doesn't really work. I think it's sort of
just make it hotter.
Yeah, I guess if the heat comes into it through the walls somehow.
Well, or if it's insulated sufficiently.
I don't think it can be that great in this room because either side, on the left and right, are more houses and walls and stuff, like with more hot rooms in, I guess. Behind is more hot rooms, and in front, the wall is mostly like a window with light coming in. So
I suppose your house does have more open space at the back as well, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
So in theory, you are in the most insulated part of that house. In theory,
probably, yeah. Not helping though.
I suppose you don't really get much out of your window, do you?
Well, they're big windows, but it's because it's sunken down. Like the light, you only get kind of sunlight from the top. You know.
Well, that's okay. But do you get much of a breeze through your subterranean glazing?
Oh, it's fine if I open the window, but I don't open the window very often. I'd rather open the huge back doors and have a through draft, or whatever.
Yeah. No, that works.
That's easier. Yeah, I might do that in a bit.
Well, I was saying earlier, even if you open the windows in this living room, and the back doors to my house are currently wide open, and it's just. You don't really get much of a through draft light in here. It's odd. You don't. It's like weirdly the best through draft you get is at a sort of right angle, like through the window next to my telly, that then turns the corner and then goes straight out the doors out the back.
Ah.
And it's like that seems to be the best channel, like rather than out the big windows of my bay window, which would be a nice straight line from the back. And that
the mysteries of the fluid dynamics of your little housing estate.
Well, I guess it's because my bay window is maybe it's enclosed by the buildings on the other side of the road, maybe, and my one on the front of the house is
your windows don't open far enough anyway, and the ones on your bay window open in towards each other, which kind of blocks each other's opportunity for flow.
Well, they kind of can open wide, but then you can't reach them, and you have to go outside to close them.
Well, you can't reach them because they're shit in the way.
And
if there wasn't a table directly under the window, you probably could reach them.
And that. And also, one of them is broken.
Yep.
So you can't open it.
How do you manage that? Because do you still do that thing where you have special bug nets carefully taped to your open window?
They're not the special bug nets, they're bug nets. There's nothing amazing about them.
But don't you cut them to shape or something?
I guess that's what you're supposed to do.
How bug nets work. You have to cut them to fit for the window.
Unless they're camping nets, right? You just put them over yourself like a canopy.
Yes.
But how open can you get your window and still have the bug net on it? All the way?
Actually, you have to open them past all the way because when you're using the I don't know what you call it, the stick thing that attaches to the window frame to hold the window open. Whatever you call that.
Yeah. the stick thing, yeah.
The stick thing
I
with
know what you
holes
mean.
in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like those...
I mean, what's the name of the thing you call on the belt, right? Or a watch strap, where it's got, you've got your little stick with and then holes. It's it's the same thing, right?
It's a buckle.
No. Oh, I guess, yeah. So the window buckle.
Okay, I guess.
Okay.
Well, it's on the window buckles. When the windows are
I was actually talking more about the holes and the stick arrangement of the sort of hole. Yeah, never mind.
It's when the windows are fully open, the sticks stick inwards slightly. The end of the pole it pokes inwards past where the plane of the window is, I guess, because of the way it works. So in order to have the bug net there without the poles interfering, you have to open them extra wide, and then you wedge the pole against the window frame so that it's fully open but flat on the inside.
So now you're using the buckle part of the window buckle.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. And the hinge lets you do that.
Well, for the vertically opening flap windows, the small ones rather than the big ones, you can wedge the stick into the corner of the window frame,
I see.
and gravity just holds it there. But for the horizontally opening ones, you wedge the stick into the window frame, but then that doesn't actually stop it from going anywhere. So I use a bit of string to tie the window.
I knew there was a bunch of sophisticated stuff going on in your setup.
It's a bit of string.
It's very carefully optimized.
I mean, technically, don't even really have to do that. It just stops the window from swinging around, which potentially, if it got extremely windy, might actually damage it.
So, do you open and close your windows, or do you have them permanently open at this kind of stage of the summer with the bug net on?
Pretty much just open them at once. It's annoying when it's autumn and spring, where it's I don't want to have to keep opening and closing these all the time, but it's just, you can't maintain temperature sufficiently.
I mean, I wish I'd felt confident enough to leave the windows open when I wasn't here.
Well, yeah, that would be nice too.
Yeah.
Do you do that then, Zach? I guess
not that often.
It's not that much of a security threat down where you are. Your house is really out of the way.
Yeah, but if they got into Zach's room, they'd probably find the good stuff. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the trouble.
What? Like what?
Like my whole computer, which is literally right next to the window.
It's gigantic.
That's the thing. Desktop theft is quite difficult, I suppose.
Yeah.
I would say that about my machine, giving its heft and size, but it's got a friggin' handle on top.
All right. Yeah, you can walk away with it.
There's no security risk down at our house unless for some reason, when I was coming home one of the other weekends at midnight or whatever when I get back, it's oh look, my parents have left the ladder leaning against the front of the house, pointing directly to their open window.
Nice.
Maybe you should put that away at least.
There's not really very many ways out of your house. It's the front path or the back path. Right?
I mean, most houses have two, right?
No, but it's not if you're trying to get to the street,
through a window.
You'd have to drag all the stolen stuff down this really narrow path right by all these other houses. And
some of it's gravelly, right? So there'd be lots of noise.
And there's gates and shit and all kinds. It'd be a total pain.
And you've got gatefly to contend with.
Gatefly, yeah, exactly. Is gatefly gone?
Well, the gate's not green any longer, so you can't have gatefly.
Oh, that was awesome. How did they know to colour? They can't. Surely they're colourblind.
Because they're probably horny. I don't know. They're just sort of green flies looking for something green.
What? The green bottle fly landed on the green gate?
Yes, probably.
They just hung out there. It was this matches. This is cool.
I'm in my element.
My element is green. Yeah. I don't know. Did we ever say green at the top of the show?
No, we haven't done yet. We can go back to that.
It's too late now. We're on trees.
No, we're on rocks.
Green!
Are we on rocks? Oh, we're on rocks. Yeah.
We're minerals. We're minerals specifically.
Yeah. Currently minerals.
All the ites. I don't know what happens before you say hello. None, the world doesn't exist outside this cast. At least that's to tell myself. when I'm getting food colouring related problems. Terrible segue.
Food colouring related problems.
What?
Yeah. So this is my tale from the last week.
Kitchen bitches.
Well, not really. It's someone else's kitchen bitch, I guess.
Okay.
I had some cake, and it was, let's call it highly food coloured, and it was they put a lot of effort into it, and it was quite nice, and it was but they've done that fancy technique where you have to make a lot of cake to make a checkerboard effect inside the cake.
Right.
It's like a round cake, but they've made several cakes and cut them into rings, and then reassembled the rings so it looks like a checkerboard. So it's kind of cool. But those rings were red and blue, very red and very blue. And you can probably guess where this is going. It's this is the Sunny D effect came into play.
I don't think the Sunny D effect is strictly because of food coloring. I
What?
think the Sunny D
Wasn't it?
effect is just because of how atrociously chemicals, just a big pile of chemicals Sunny D is.
I thought the Sunny D
Not
effect
just
was
food
it
coloring.
literally turned people's skin yellow, didn't it? Wasn't that
No,
the
well,
Sunny
no,
D
I-
effect?
No, I thought it turned your pee like orange or like ridiculous.
Oh, no, I think there was a scare story that actually affected children's skin tone.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I'm making this up. Might have to
I don't remember that one.
Yeah,
We could sweat Sunny D. But
let's have a
We-
Google
we-
on my mechanical
we-
keyboard.
suppose it'd be. Oh yeah, of course.
Uh,
we have to now say "man looks up thing on internet" every time you do that. Man looks up thing on internet. Please stand by. The Sunny D controversy of the mid-90s.
well, here we go. I have sources from the Independent and the BBC. Who should we go for? BBC.
Okay, this sounds legit.
BBC, 26th of December 1999. Soft drink turned toddler yellow. Too much of it
Okay.
could send kids yellow after warnings from a North Wales doctor.
Send
There you go.
kids yellow. Some dumb wording.
The child had been drinking 1.5 litres of the popular drink a day. An analysis
Fuck.
revealed
I don't think
that
I could drink 1.5 litres of something like a day.
Yeah, I probably could.
I probably could. I just don't think it would
I used to quite
feel
like Sunny
good
D.
at all.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah, there is that actually. You'd probably feel quite. I mean, how much sugar is Sunny D a sugary drink?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
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 So, what was this kid like scoring world records or something? Like whilst on this much Sunny D? Because
Yeah,
he'd be
you don't
bouncing.
Feed a toddler even
4-year-old.
more sugar.
1.5
my God.
litres a day for a 4-year-old.
Okay, she's not very big
No.
either, so there's
No.
it doesn't
How
take.
does he fit 1.5 litres in there?
Yeah, I was about to say you could probably fit like only like 4 bottles inside a 4-year-old, right? Like physically.
So her
unless you
condition,
can unless you can like hollow out the legs to make room, and then
so it says it was caused by beta carotene, an additive which boosts the orange colour. Yes, that makes
yeah.
sense. The spokeswoman for Procter & Gamble said the child in question was drinking, quote, too much and would have suffered the same effects with carrot juice.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So that's not probably the I don't
Sunny
know,
D's
I-
fault. There's a zone.
Yeah. Well, that's probably not your fault anyway. You like if you're drinking enough to make your pee orange, or there was a green Sunny D at one point, so I guess it probably went green.
Get the purple stuff.
So you'd have thought, given that I was eating blue and red, that things would have gone purple. It did not.
Hmm.
It's time for guess the colour of my poo.
Oh, delicious. This
Should
is
we not?
great.
Yeah, I know. But it's just like, it was such a surprise to look down and see like bright, I mean, really vibrant, grassy green. Sort of like,
That doesn't sound like that should be the right colour at all.
No.
For a start.
it
and,
really
also,
doesn't.
and also, how much of this cake did you eat for it to even affect your whole poop?
It's a single
Yeah.
slice. And it lasted 2 days.
So basically what you're saying is this cake had nothing to do with it. And there was just something else.
Oh, what?
wrong.
You reckon? Well, no, because I'm not the only one. Like, this has been like through multiple sources confirmed that the cake causes green. It's like I can only assume you break down some of the red, maybe, and it turns yellow.
And
And
it
then
dyes
combines the
everything in your
blue.
system.
Yeah,
Yuck.
it was
Or it was something
really
else in
weird.
the cake, not the food colouring. Like what? Like marzipan or something? I don't know. Some
No,
other element
like-
of the cake.
There were Skittles on it, but not that many. And it just had regular, I don't know, some kind of icing or buttercream or something on it. But
They put chlorine in it like the Olympic swimming pool.
Or
The pH balance
didn't.
got fucked up.
which way did they over chlorinate or under chlorinate to make green diving?
I don't think they necessarily over or under. I think it just got other stuff in it that messed
Okay,
with the
the rain.
pH, and then
Would the rain do it? Or would that like?
could be.
Do they have acid rain? I don't hear much about the old acid rain.
Well,
No.
it's-
That was
That
a
mostly-
90s concern.
That mostly
For some
got dealt
reason.
with, mostly.
Yeah.
Is it CFC related?
It's like that ozone.
Yeah.
It
Like
was
mostly,
CFCs.
that
It
also
was
mostly got dealt with.
Although it is actually repairing now, isn't it? Ozone.
Well, it has been since
since fridges.
Since they
yeah,
banned
since
them,
we
Yeah.
sorted that out, but not entirely. And there's still other shit that fucks up the ozone occasionally.
Yeah, that seems to be a very not really talked about thing. Not since Captain Planet went off the air.
He solved the problem.
Yeah, well done, Captain Planet. And Mick and Mac, the global gladiators, they sorted it out. And I also had to... Almost like... Let's change the subject.
Yeah.
I also had to buff a car scratch out, which is kind of no fun. Like my neighbour, fair play to him for owning up to it and coming over and saying, yeah, I just mashed your car.
What?
He sort of parked a bit exuberantly and left a rather large black mark down the side of my white door. You know, parking a black car next to a white car.
Right.
It couldn't have been a more obvious, ding. It was quite large. And, there were some... but most of it was actual paint transfer from his car to mine, which is nice.
Right.
So, you scrub that off, and then there was still some marking left, so I had to get some, rubbing compound, I think is the generic term for it.
Okay.
You put it on, and it's, breaks down the clear coat on your car a little bit, so then basically smudging over the bits where it's dented and stuff. And then you have to clean it up, and then you have to wax it, and then blah, 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 blah. So that was a faff.
Blimey, how long did that take?
Quite a while.
Oh, Christ.
Well, actually, no. The actual process of doing the rubbing fluid, it was really fast, actually. That only took, a few minutes, but then it's well, now I've got to make sure everything... Well, I had to clean it first, wait for it to dry, and then... which is fine, because it's hot. And then, and then do this thing, which didn't take very long at all. But then you got to clean it, make sure you get everything off, make sure there's no residue, and then clean it up. And then, at the point where it's well, they say you're supposed to protect it with a wax, and it's well, at this point, I might as well bloody wash the car. So I did that. And then had that horrible moment where I'd packed everything away, and it's I didn't bloody wash the wheels, did I? The wheels look so good when they're shiny. And I'd forgot to do it.
Part to wash.
The thing, you've got to do it. The thing is you've got to do it last though, because they're so filth.
Well, because all the water pours off everything else downwards.
You've got to
do the bottom bits last.
But there's so much crap and brake dust and stuff that you get on the inside of alloys that it's just it's black. It's proper black, and you'll then screw up your bucket. Screw up your bucket, man, and your sponge probably. You got to do that last. But because I was doing it last, I've just totally forgot. Yeah, so that happened. Car buffing.
And does it look same as ever? Good as new?
Yeah, I can tell, but to the casual observer, wouldn't notice. Besides, while I was doing it, I did notice I had other dings about the car anyway that can't quite be solved using the same method.
Really?
Bit more. Yeah, I've obviously parked a little bit too close to a wall on the front bumper, and so my front bumper actually has these awkward little teeth, I guess you'd call them, either side of the grille that sort of stick out a little bit, and it looks like I've crushed one a bit. And there's a little pock mark, I guess you'd call it, above the driver door where I bet a stone just sort of mashed it at crazy speed, and it just looks like it looks a little bit like there's just a shattering in the paint, so it's that I can't deal with easily. So never mind. I probably shouldn't have worried about this thing with those other things hanging about. It's the car's a bit screwed now.
Nah, it's fine.
And I've curved the wheels so many times that there's almost no spare alloy around the edge, no nice alloy anymore. So that was my week of irritation.
It was about paint and colouring.
Yeah, basically.
Mainly. Paint,
unwanted
paint on
related.
your car and unwanted paint in your poo.
Yeah, it's a very colourful week. Vibrant, if you will.
Vibrant. Zeg, you got any annoyances this week?
Not really. Had to take my car for its MOT, but...
Oh, how'd that go?
Yeah.
That Clio's a bit...
Probably should talk about it, because it
might
be super illegal, I don't know.
Oh, okay, let's do this. Maybe not then.
Well, basically what happened was...
What's illegal?
I took it down there, and I was like, okay, listen,
can I
okay, listen, guys.
I'm just going to stop you there. There's no part of your character makes me believe that you wandered up to a mechanic and went, all right, listen.
Well, what actually happened was I phoned up on Monday and booked it in and said, it needs looking at because sometimes the airbag light comes on and also the tyres are like well worn.
Okay, right, yeah.
So I said that to them on Monday on the phone, and they were like, "Okay, bring it down Wednesday.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Bring on this work." So I took it down there, and for the second year running, whoever was there on Monday completely failed to write down my booking in the log.
Oh, wow.
2 years in a row. I think I just need to stop
Using
doing
that.
it on Monday morning.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Wait till the afternoon where the people who actually know what the fuck they're doing are there.
Or just, more to the point, make your booking at a different time.
Oh yeah,
when those guys are about. Do it a week in advance, so it's the same guy.
Maybe. So I did that. So when I turned up, it was like, "Oh, it's not the book," but apparently that's just fine. They just I guess.
We're not busy. We'll just do it.
I guess
That sometimes happens. Yeah.
So I did. So the guy on the phone seemed to suggest, probably because he was trying to extract more money, that it was like,
right.
We'll MOT it first, and if it fails, we'll do all the fixes and then MOT it again. And it's like, fuck that! I literally told you what's wrong with it. It's not like it's something I don't know what's wrong with it. There's a dashboard light, and it very clearly indicates what might be wrong with it.
That's kind of how they do it. And although I don't think Ford charge you twice, when I get mine done.
Sure.
It's they do their health check thing, which is basically a quick MOT.
Yeah, not quite an MOT.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's done, but we'll see. So when I turned up and it wasn't booked in, I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to restate what order I want things to happen in.
Okay, good.
So I did. I was like, you need to look at this and then MOT it because it will fail otherwise.
Oh, mate, you got to look at this. All right.
So I went home and then I came back later and the car was there and it was like, well, it's done. And then I drove away and then I looked at the thing and it's like, oh, well, it passed the MOT. And then I looked at the tyres, it's like, these are the same tyres. And then I looked at the dashboard and it's like, that light's still coming on. It's like...
I guess they weren't MOT.
Did you not actually MOT this? Did you just write down that you did on a piece of paper?
Huh. Well, I guess that's good in some respects.
Yeah.
But,
Don't you get a certificate or something to say you're
Yeah, you do. And it's entered into an online database so
there you
do
go.
my tax.
And don't most MOTs have to have they do actually have to check note down each of the elements they looked at, right?
Well,
or is that just a Ford thing? 'Cause I get a nice sheet where everything.
They have on my one the printout. It has a box where they write if there's any extra notes.
Oh, okay.
And
right.
there was nothing in there either.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's like, well, okay, I guess. Maybe save me money, but I'd probably still have to take it in anyway because there's these problems with it.
You can get well any quick fit will take your money for tyres if you really want to, but yeah.
It's not
it'd be nice to know what the mill depth would have been. But I suppose you could measure it yourself.
Well, yeah. But it's just I only drive that car once a week anyway, so it's not like those tyres are wearing down very quickly.
No. Yeah, I had to spend, even though my car's still in pretty good nick, I still had £800 worth of wear and tear. Well, I suppose it's 700 actually, but yeah, 7. Yeah,
expensive.
I had to do all 4 tyres. I had to do brake discs and pads. Or basically the wheels needed replacing.
Blimey!
Every part to do with the wheels needed redoing. Just out of wear and tear. That's all it was. Nothing, I mean, 6-year-old car now, but 5-year-old car. I guess it hasn't had a thing done to it apart from tyres.
Yeah.
Oh, and they did my door seals as well for free, which was nice.
Yes, because they were fun.
They were pretty silly. They didn't even need replacing. I had there's a bit of rubber that goes all the way around the door seal,
right?
To basically seal it.
It's
clues in the name. It had become unglued at the bottom, which is where the join between the I guess it's one strip, right? And they run it around the door, but the sort of where the two ends meet, it was at the bottom on mine, and one side of it had basically become unglued, and so it just basically stuck itself out the doors, and it had happened on both of my rear doors. So both I had basically these little rubber wings
coming out of the car.
Yeah. So they didn't need replacing. They hadn't been worn enough, apparently, even though they'd been sat out like that they could just re-glue them and it would be fine. So they just did that, which is nice.
Cool. probably
Guess what?
saves fuel efficiency as well.
Oh my god!
Oh, you're joking.
I looked through the window and I just caught a little glimpse of Rob's mum.
Three in a row.
Here it
Very
comes.
bad timing. Okay,
That's 3 in a row. Oh my word!
3 in a row.
You guys carry on.
Pass me your phone. Give me the news.
Shit, are we going to talk about the news?
Well, apparently not.
We can start the news. I think we're going to have to.
I think we might need to stop the recording. I don't know.
No, why?
Let's just-
We haven't done that before. Let us continue.
Okay. We might need to cut a little bit of this out because Rob failed to shut the door. And he's
Okay.
continued to fail to shut the door.
It's just too much extra outside noise contaminating the cast. Trouble is, Rob's mum talks a lot.
Yeah, that is the trouble.
She could be a guest. I don't know what she
I don't think
thinks
she has
about the
anything to say
news.
about video games.
No. Well,
So-
go on then.
Okay, let's uncut and then let's talk about the news. Apart from not the news that's on Rob's phone because we don't have it. What news have you got there?
I have something about people not being happy with the Titanfall 2 beta.
Yeah, I was seeing that around quite a lot.
Yeah.
Various YouTube videos and such, and forum posts.
There's a Reddit post here that Eurogamer is quoting, saying that someone is saying, "I think it's pretty certain that Titanfall just shit the bed as a franchise."
the franchise of one game and another.
Yeah, one game. That's a bit dramatic, isn't it? I guess it's the Titanfall Reddit, right? So I guess they're quite focused
They're
on
refused.
Titanfall. But it sounds like they're basically saying they slowed down the movement to make it more kind of Call of Duty, I suppose. And
even though Call of Duty is like the fastest of the FPSs. Normally.
yeah, what's the slow one then these days? I guess Battlefield. What's slow?
Battlefield, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, they slowed down the movement,
Destiny.
but they're going to fix it apparently. So
Well,
they're listening
like
to the feedback.
they said like well, the main one that I was seeing lots of people complaining about was how that they basically made the Titans more like a kill streak.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what they've
you
done.
actually
yeah.
had to be doing well in order to get the Titan, not just wait.
Yeah, I think that sounds cool. I don't know why.
I don't think that's good. It's
Why not?
Because you always want to be able to get a Titan. That's the whole point of the game.
Yeah,
Titan.
but what's wrong with it being a reward if it's
Because
something
how
you want?
many times have you? I mean, between me and you, not very many times, but how many times have you
true.
played Call of Duty and never been able to get even to your first kill streak?
Yeah. Well, this isn't saying it's a kill streak. It's like you get them if you play the actual objectives. Like,
Well, sure, but that's not really any different technically. It still means you have to do a thing that you could potentially be prevented from doing.
Yes, that's true. So, but I mean, I get flag capture points in Battlefield much more than kill streaks in Call of Duty or whatever. It's more doable,
Again,
isn't it?
we've played one of those a lot more than the other.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, I probably wouldn't get that many kill streaks in any game.
Well, yeah, and I don't think Titanfall, it was like when you played the capture point modes in Titanfall 1, it's like you never held the capture point for any period of time. It was just like,
No.
you'd capture it, you'd walk out the door, and then someone would already be in there carrying it back.
Yeah, maybe they should fix that. I don't know, because like Titans weren't like at all special because you saw them constantly or whatever.
Yeah, but they're not meant to be special. They're meant
I
to be
suppose
like
so.
they're meant to be like the main weapon of war in this universe. And like every person, every combatant on the field that is controlled by a player is a pilot.
That's true. That is true.
And the only reason they're there is to get Titans.
Yeah. So it does seem, but I mean, they have to mix it up somehow because it's not like Titanfall did that great.
Well, yeah, but they don't need to mix up the gameplay. They just need to make more of it and have more options. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other thing I was reading about how, like, now that the grapple is technically an option for the infantry.
Yeah, but you
So
want it.
not necessarily everyone will have it, but probably quite a lot of people will. And like how easy that makes it to rodeo now, and the whole like taking the batteries mechanic.
Yeah, so what is it? You can steal a battery from an enemy Titan, which makes it weaker, and then you can give it to one of yours, which makes it
Yeah.
stronger. That
So,
doesn't
like-
sound too bad. I mean, it's a
Well-
bit complicated.
The trouble with it is, there's the exact same problem as they had with rodeo in the first game, which is like you can't do shit about it.
Right.
Which basically means your Titan, if you want to be able to do anything about it, one of your Titan's upgrades is always going to be electro smoke, because that's the only thing that counters rodeo.
Right. And then it becomes not a fun thing to do.
Yeah, then it becomes
Because
like
they
not a
have to
choice,
smoke.
it's just a thing you need.
Right. Kind of like the grapple, I guess. You're probably
Yeah,
going to need that.
exactly.
Because it doesn't sound like the alternatives to the grapple are like...
Well, I've been seeing occasional people saying that, like, actually, if you just use the stim pack, like the one that just makes you run fast, and you're good at like working out the traversal routes through the environment, it's like you can still manage without the grapple.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like the trouble with it is they say that they're making changes, and like they said, like, oh, we're going to return the timer to the Titan, so you will always get one eventually, or whatever.
Mm.
But like, I don't. Because it's an EA game, I don't see them being able to make that many changes, because I bet they've already set an exact release date, and EA are going to delay it, and it's going to be like, how many changes can we possibly fit in within this time window when we were actually meant to be fixing the game?
Right. Fundamental changes and balance, I guess, in response to players. At least they're doing a beta and stuff. I guess they always did. They did even for the first one, but yeah. So they are having the timer go up. The Titan meter go up with time, right? It's faster if you do the objectives.
Well, I mean, that was technically the case in Titanfall 1.
Yeah.
Like, doing stuff made you get your Titan faster.
Yeah, so not that different. And they make it so that, well, apparently it was in an earlier build that people saw, but that when you wall run, you build up speed or something?
Yeah, I don't know, like, exactly how that matters, really. I mean, probably for like people who were really good at the routes, because it's like whenever I was wall running, I wasn't wall running into any other, like, I was wall running to jump. I wasn't wall running to like transfer into another wall run or
right. Yeah.
Like the wall was just a platform to jump off, and I never got any good at like stopping on the wall or any of that weird stuff that you could do.
Could you do that? I didn't even know that. Could you slide down a wall shooting and stuff? Or?
No, it was like if you were wall running and you press the aim down sights button, you just stop and go into aim mode so you can fire from the wall.
Oh, you're just holding onto the wall mysteriously.
Yeah. With a knife, supposedly.
But you're kind of then stopped. Doesn't that make you a bad target? Or?
I mean, it was the main way I saw people using it, which was maybe just because of the kind of shitty level I was playing at or whatever at the time. But like the main way people were using it was just like particularly inside buildings where there was a capture point, you just climb up near the roof of the building and just hang out there. So whenever anyone captured the point, you just shoot them, or like you'd wait for them to capture the point, and then as soon as they left, you just start recapturing it because you're already in the room, and they just didn't notice you hanging up on the wall.
That's kind of cool, but dumb.
Yes.
But once you know about it, then you know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, that's Titanfall. What else?
Yeah, who knows whether that'll actually be any good.
Well,
I mean, it'll probably be fine,
knows?
But whether it will be any better than the previous one.
Yeah, who knows? I guess we'll see. It looks kind of more solid and rounded. I guess that's what you expect of a sequel. So I guess we'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, the other trouble with it at the moment is they, like, I guess because it's just the beta or alpha or whatever, it's just like, we still don't know if there's more stuff.
No,
they've
that's
only been showing a very small part of it, or at least what we assume is a small part of it.
I mean, this seems to be a major complaint of the majority of modern multiplayer shooters. It's just because they're so detailed that it's like, we need more maps, like Overwatch or whatever. Yeah,
maps definitely help. But it's like, Battlefield did it. That had a lot of maps and a whole shit ton of guns and attachments. But then, I mean, the trouble with that, of course, in Battlefield is just like 90% of them you don't give a shit about because you found the one gun that you like and works well.
And everyone just plays Metro or whatever.
Yes, and then you get, at least in Battlefield you have the option to have Metro-only servers or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how many maps there'll be for Battlefield 1.
Yeah, I mean, probably about the standard 8 or 10, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember how many there even were in 4. And then probably like 3 or 4 expansions.
Yeah, probably.
As they keep doing. Actually, I think I saw a news story where they'd already announced like the season pass for Battlefield 1 and like what the name of the first expansion pack was.
Blimey. Wait, that's this year, isn't it? I guess.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
It's got to be like the standard November Call of Duty face-off release date, surely.
Yeah, but this time with Titanfall 2 somewhere in the mix.
Probably.
They're probably not going to beat Overwatch. Although, who knows? Because they're always massively successful anyway. There's a lot of hype for Battlefield 1, so we'll see if people actually buy it and play that shit.
Well, you know, it's a Battlefield game, and
it'll look good on Rob's PC, so...
Sure.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
It's a Battlefield game, and it's like, I guess, a more traditional Battlefield game again.
Yeah, maybe. I still think maybe this could be a step to, like, amazing graphics, actual back to World War II in a couple of years.
Well, yes, that would make sense, but it's still a question of whether they're going to do that, whether they want to reuse the same time period again.
I think it'll have been long enough.
I mean, now they've done World War One. It's like, what's left? You're basically out of wars now. Battlefield Iraq.
I mean, but World War One is absolutely the oldest possible war you can do that actually fits the gameplay at all. Like,
yes, with Battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, exactly. It's pretty close because, you know, I don't think the vehicles are going to act like the vehicles of World War One.
Well, no, neither are the guns.
No, or the guns. So they might look exactly like them, but they're not going to work like them.
Which is to say, badly.
Yeah, exactly. So because it's got to be fun. So yeah, I think World War II is a kind of sweet spot there. But anyway,
but then, like, again, it's the same. It's the classic thing we always said about Battlefield, where it's like when you've done World War II and you've done one, and now you've done World War One, it's got to be back to 2142, surely.
Yeah, well, they did
bring back 2142.
I mean, they did Vietnam as well. I mean,
yeah,
that could look real good these days if they improved the. Although you still have basically the same problem of trees everywhere and not being able to see anything. Yeah, but that was true in the actual war, of course.
Yeah, it just doesn't make a fun game. That's the problem.
No, exactly. Yeah, and stuff like World War II or even One. There's just so many theaters of war that you can have tons of variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Modern Warfare, you can make up, like,
whatever
you can have people,
want.
Yeah, fighting
in
America or something, yeah, or whatever the shit you want. Yeah.
But that's why you go to the future, because then you can do whatever. That's why 2142 is like, oh, it's all these snowy places, because it's like weird global ice age.
Yeah,
thing.
but nowadays, then you have to compete with, they'll compete with, like, as a setting, that is now being overdone by Call of Duty and, Titanfall and whatever,
well,
even aside from Halo, etc.
Really overdoing it, exactly.
Well, Call of Duty have done it like 2 or 3 times in a row now, haven't they? Like near future, basically 2142.
Sort of, but that's only if you like. That's when you consider like that Black Ops is still a Call of Duty game.
It is, though. It's the main one, isn't it? These days.
Well, yeah, it is, but it's just like they haven't. It's not been exactly the same every time. It's been the same every other time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But what have they been? Because I don't really care about Call of Duty, but there's been like 3, hasn't there? This latest one's in space, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's like the first actual Call of Duty, where it's just like military guys doing military things, only in space now, I guess.
The previous one was near future, though, wasn't it? Like the shitty Ghosts
2.
Or whatever. No, the one,
yeah, Ghosts,
Infinity War one. Yeah, because that was like Mexico have attacked America or something, wasn't it? Or some bullshit.
I don't know if that counts as near future, though, was it? I mean, that's more like very near future.
Right. I thought it had
not
some
like near
techno
future,
stuff.
Yeah, it had some, but not like as much.
Yeah.
Not as much as Black Ops 2, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it 2 or 3? Can't remember. 3.
2 and 3 were both in that future, weren't they? Because 2 was like the drones were out of control,
right.
And then 3 was like dealing with the aftermath of the drones being out of control, or something.
Right.
I don't fucking know.
And 3 had all the movement stuff like Titanfall, right?
Yeah.
Of all the and stuff and the boosts. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if they'll go back to future with because the thing is they've also got Star Wars Battlefront for their sci-fi shooter.
Well, I guess.
I'm not saying for us that's good, but I mean, in terms of what they're thinking, as DICE and EA, they're like, well, we've got the sci-fi shooter.
But then, what else are you going to do for a mainline Battlefield? Just more fucking modern combat.
I hope not. I mean, we'll see how one goes down, I suppose. Are you interested in one? I can't remember. I thought you were a bit ambivalent about it, but I mean, if you don't want more freaking modern, then it does sound like a good idea.
I think this will be one of those, like, it's not like I'm going to buy it on release, I think will be the thing. This will be like,
it'll be like,
this will be like Battlefront. It'll be like, wait until after release until you find out how many maps there are and stuff. Because they could potentially still screw it up just as badly as Battlefront.
I think Battlefront might be a good one to get, like, now or in a few months, because there's going to there'll be double the number of maps, including like a Rogue One map and a Force Awakens map and shit.
Yeah, but then how many people will there be?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Or how many servers?
But it's not. It's a huge game. It's not like, I don't know. It's less likely to be dead than.
I don't know if it is a huge game exactly. It's like a game that everyone piled into and then left immediately.
Do you think? Okay, fair enough.
I don't know what the servers are actually like.
Right, what else we got going on? There's a slim PlayStation 4. Woo! Of course there is.
I expect Rob will mention that when he talks about whatever his PlayStation stuff was.
What's going on with Rob and the PlayStation? I guess.
I don't know. I think he said that. I think maybe there's news coming out at Gamescom. I haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, so Gamescom, I wanted to talk about. Guess what? Freaking Star Citizen. Did you see that demo?
Yeah, I did see that demo. And
what do you think?
It's one of those things where it seems like they're making something that's really cool, but they haven't really thought ahead.
Like, yeah, because it seems
they've made this whole thing where it's like, you can fly from one place to another, and you can go through the whole landing sequence, and then you can walk through the base, and then you can talk to a guy to get a mission. It's like, so basically, what it's telling me is, in order to get a mission, I have to spend 15 minutes just wandering around.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's not a good way to spend time. And also, what's going to happen when this is a multiplayer game and like 50 people are trying to get that mission?
Well, I guess however it works in WoW or whatever, how does that work?
But the trouble is, like, in MMOs, generally you don't collide, but in Star Citizen you do. Right. So, like, people can get in your way, and that's just not going to work at all, so that probably should change. Yeah,
that'll probably change, yep.
But it's still like, they've tried to make this whole realistic thing, but it's just like it's a cool idea, but it only works in single player, really. And also only works if you're willing to accept that you're going to spend 50 minutes walking around not actually doing anything.
I mean, is it going to be Star Citizen? Is it going to be kind of instanced, like, multiplayer, like servers? I guess it will have to be, right? It's not like Eve, where there's like one world.
I would imagine it's not going to be a straight MMO. It's probably going to be like hired servers, I imagine.
What are we talking about?
Star Citizen.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you was comparing to Star Citizen. Sorry. I thought Star Citizen was going to be one big universe, like Eve style.
Yeah.
But we're talking about literal, like, full multiplayer where you can, like, walk into each other, like.
That's what I was saying about how when they showed that demo of like going into the base and walking through that bar and going to talk to that one specific guy to get a mission. It's like, that's never going to work in a multiplayer environment.
Not unless they do the No Man's Sky thing and spread it all out. But then would players ever do that?
That's the thing is that, like,
have the MMO problem where everything is Lion's Arch.
Well, yeah. There's always going to be a central place where everyone congregates. That's just how MMOs work.
I mean, they said in that demo that each of these planets would have at least one, but maybe two, special main places, that were crafted, that, I mean, not generated.
You could potentially mitigate it that if traveling to places is actually kind of tough. In that, if you want to travel long distances in this universe, that it's
not going to be. You walk around all over the place.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like
you might have. Well, it depends if you have warp limits or anything like that. But then, like, or there's some incentive to stay in your faction areas, and if there's enough factions and if there's enough starting positions, then you can at least get your group of friends to all start in one place. But then it's actually kind of a hassle to be somewhere else.
Yeah, but then
like if you somehow create, and I'm not saying I know what these are, but what you need is an incentive to stick around at specific spots that aren't the same as everyone else's specific spot. It's a difficult problem, don't get me wrong, but you need an incentive is what it is.
That's not how that game is going to work. That's not even how it works in EVE. Like when you have the 4 factions, it's just like nobody gives a shit. You can make a central hub for each faction, and like there is one. Here's the Galent main trading hub, and here's the Caldari main trading hub. But actually, the Caldari one's the only one that matters.
Okay, so it's like, well, you don't have to go down the faction route. I'm not even sure Star Citizen will go down the faction route at all.
No,
but there may have to be some bonus to say home system or something. Or
I don't think that's how that game's going to work. I think it's going to be more like a freelancer type thing where the universe already exists and is laid out in a specific way, and you're just traveling through it to do things.
Yeah. I'm hoping it will be a lot like Freelancer.
Well, yeah.
The freaking ship they showed in the demo was called the Freelancer, I think.
Well, yes, but that's based on an old ship of their previous game. It's not a reference to Freelancer.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Why, is that a ship from Wing Commander or something?
I think so.
I mean, Wing Commander never had it, in fairness, any of the elements from Freelancer, any of them, really.
No, because it was
in space and you fight stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a bit of me hopes there's FMV, but there won't be. It's not that kind of game.
I mean, I was actually surprised by how not shit the acting was of the guy. Yeah, giving you the mission. It was this is almost like a not quite Mass Effect kind of level of a dude you talk to.
I just thought it was weird how it's when they were landing the ship on the planet and they were going through the whole landing sequence thing.
What, the initial one, when they were just showing it off, or when they actually went on the mission?
Well, either, I guess.
Right,
when you're doing the landing sequence, particularly when, into a port or whatever.
Right. I thought it was cool.
Where you get assigned a landing pad and all that.
Yeah.
When he was doing that,
Dangerous.
Except when he was doing that, he specifically said, if you take too long or fuck it up, it just fades to black and then you're on the pad. So you don't get in other people's way.
Okay.
And then when he was walking through the base, and it's look at all these really thin corridors where one person can easily block the way, and then you have to go and sit in a specific seat to talk to this guy to get a mission. It's okay, so the landing pad you can avoid getting blocked, but what about all these other places?
I'm sure they'll think of something.
Blocked?
I mean, they must do... It's going to be hard to do the collision detection between that
number of people. Players. Yeah, and also, how do you disincentivize trolls from just standing there? Or is that maybe people want to do that to get into a fist fight, and then the fist fight between those players trying to get away actually is what creates the space for you to then proceed?
Well, they could just make it it's PvP everywhere, because they do have ground combat, so just make it PvP everywhere, and then if someone's in your way, you just fucking shoot them.
That's going to be fun, those space bars, aren't they? They're going to be so dangerous.
But then they're going to need some kind of police system in the station, so if someone just shoots them, and then you get some NPC police turn up, and then that gets even more complicated to manage in MMO Town. I really hope that happens.
I mean...
that sounds awesome.
The demo looked cool.
It's going to have to be instant stations, right? It's got to
be. That's what I'm wondering.
Or you get sent. Your guy giving you missions is just on a different floor, so you're limiting the number of players. But they said certain floors.
They made a big deal about how their elevators are real, and it's actually a real elevator that moves up and down. It's not just a loading screen.
You just make the station bigger, and so different people go.
Yeah, and the elevator. Then what if you get stuck on floor 300, and you're I'm going to be in this elevator for fucking ever?
You get the turbo lift. You get told, all right, I'm on floor 506 or whatever, and it's I'm going to need the turbo lift to 500, and then
don't accidentally get in the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get in the slow lift way.
Exactly. It's real world problems. Skyscraper management.
Yeah,
Sim Tower.
It's just they tried to show how cool it was, where it's I'm in the base, but I can look out the window and see the other guy in the ship outside. It's you're going to have to instance this because it's just not going to work. It's cool. It's cool when there's only 4 people.
Yeah, the bandwidth requirements alone, like even let alone server requirements, like the bandwidth for you to be able to like successfully stream all that's going on would be pretty massive, right?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Who knows, though? I mean, maybe what they're claiming isn't real, but I mean, what's the point of making that up? They've got to have some kind of solution.
I mean, I know that they were always going for the moon, right? This is gaming's equivalent of the moon shot. But
but I was more impressed by this demo than anyone I've ever seen from them before. So I was like, wow, it's actually sort of coming together. Even when they went on the pirate ship at the shooting in microgravity actually looked sort of cool. Sort of. Don't you think? Not the slickest shooter ever, but I mean, it was kind of...
I can't say I've seen all of what you're talking about.
It was a pretty cool demo. So I'll just basically, what was it? Like they started by landing on a planet, right? And just landing somewhere random. They went from space onto the planet, just like No Man's Sky, except it didn't have the weird kind of things warping into viewness. Well, I mean, it had a level of detail stuff, but it looked pretty nice, to be honest.
Not quite like the dithering.
No, not that dithering effect. And then they landed just somewhere randomly on the landscape just to demonstrate that you could. And it was funny because the ramp on the ship doesn't actually go all the way down, so he managed to get off and not be able to get back on until the guy moved the ship so that the ramp actually touched the ground. So that was quite funny. And then he landed in a port, and he went he took the elevator, and you could see the other guy in the ship outside, right, Zeg? Just to show off that it's not instanced. And then he went and talked to a bloke to get a mission, like say one bloke who was like animated and voice acted fully, etc. Accepted the mission, went back out, warped, flew off.
Other players can hear that.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
Wandering past and you hear the same conversation that he's given out to the other 50 people in line.
Well, I mean, again, it's just like the mission is to go and like salvage this shipwreck or whatever. So how's that even going to work if multiple people have that mission?
Different locations, different shipwrecks.
Well, yeah, you
guess so.
Assume so.
Yeah.
But...
So they walked to an asteroid belt.
It's the same mission, they just put it somewhere else.
And it's like not very far away, is it? I don't know. Anyway, and then there's they have a bit of space combat, right? And then they find the wreckage of the ship or whatever. So he gets out and does an EVA and goes into the ship and knocks a bunch of people about. Yeah, and then kills some space pirates in there, grabs the stuff. And then the dude telephones and is like, oh, they've obviously ransacked the ship and they're hiding the stuff on this nearby moon or whatever. You could probably go and nick that stuff. So they go to the moon. Then they have some weird... He gets in like a... Oh, no, that's right. No, he salvages from the ship some kind of weird space motorbike thing, right? It's like a speeder.
It's like a speeder, except it can also work in space.
In space. So he flies the speeder and sort of manages to just about drive it into the back of into the cargo hold of his main ship, flies down to the surface, and then gets out on the speeder and has a bit of like combat on the surface with like a truck or something that was being piloted really badly by somebody else.
Yep.
So he tried to pirate a player transport on the surface of the moon. Or
no,
like why did he have to? So why did combat suddenly ensue on the speeder?
It seemed more like that was just like a demo setup. Like we haven't programmed the NPCs to be able to drive land vehicles yet, or something.
Right. Yeah. So he shoots it up and goes in, and that's it, right? He gets double crossed or something because other ships land, right? And that's it. That was the end of the demo. But there's quite a lot going on in that, to be honest, and it looked pretty good throughout.
It's interesting that it sounds like there's more story elements to this maybe than I had anticipated.
Well, I mean, that's just there's no sense of any overarching story. That's just like a mission story, or a quest.
No, but even so, there seems like there's more to it than I was expecting. Like there's more scripting, I guess would be the word.
Well, they always said like they were. I sort of thought that they were maybe suggesting that the sort of story mode of the game was going to be separate, almost. Like there was going to be an actual game with a story, and then there was going to be like more like the multiplayer elements. So maybe there's some kind of crossover, like just the generic missions that would be in the story mode could be put into the multiplayer or something. I don't know.
But this was clearly...
It's the classic thing with that game where they keep going on about like modules and stuff. Where it's like, oh, this is the land combat module or whatever. It's like maybe this isn't as integrated directly, but maybe it is.
Yeah, no, I think that must have been. I mean, it was awkwardly worded, but I guess that must have been during development, we're going to build this thing like prototypical stuff. Maybe like we're going to build these modules, give stuff for the early access users. And then we'll figure out how to make what we've built work in the context of the bigger game.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, they're taking it's pretty clear that they're taking the very long play to this development cycle. And it's like, if that results in high quality, because they seem to be going through all the right steps, you would potentially argue for a software development case, right? Like, if all those modules were prototype phases and...
I guess it makes
Stuff
sense
like
from
that.
a development standpoint, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think modules. I don't see any reason why modules need to figure into the final product. Really.
No, I think that would actually be a detriment to it. Really.
It makes sense when you're developing in the open somewhat, and you're explaining it to your backers.
Yeah. So we need something. Yeah. We need something to show them that our foot combat's not going to suck. So, but we're building this thing. We're building the mechanics of it separate from the space game right now. We've got two different teams working on it. We'll figure out how to make them work together later. That's totally reasonable to me.
And it looked like they were pretty much integrated at this point, or getting there, at least from the strength of this demo.
Yeah. They have to remember, and I think maybe they've already heard this criticism, presumably through early access or their version of early access, that at the end of the day, they're going to have to make a game.
Yeah.
Not several. Whether that one game has other little games in it is another question, but ultimately it's got to be one experience, right?
Mm. I was actually surprised from that demo of how smoothly it did fit together, even though it's not finished or anything. But it seemed like, I know it might have been smoke and mirrors, but it seemed like, the transfer between kind of game modes, like flying the ship and walking around and shooting and all that stuff, seemed pretty slick.
Yeah. No, like, hey, you're in the Mako now. Or...
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. That does sound way more promising than I think. Again, I need to go and look at this thing properly.
Definitely worth watch that demo. It's quite nice. I mean, obviously, it's a demo, so they make it look as good as they possibly can. Even though at least one of the guys actually playing it was not being that good.
That kind of helps in some ways, because it's like you want to see where it's at. You want to see how it actually handles for realsies.
Yeah.
Well, people like me want to see that anyway. It might not be what you want to market, but
Yeah, exactly. They definitely proved that it was running, for reals.
Because of all the frame rate drops. Lols.
Totally, yeah.
Well,
and there was a moment where he flew the, which was kind of encouraging in a way, where when he flew the space motorbike into the hold of the ship, it disappeared for a moment, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's like a graphical bug when the vehicle transfers between kind of where its ground state is or whatever, what kind of reference frame it's in."
Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and it's like, this is clearly real.
Yeah, like it will have a moment. Like it's like when things snap to positions, like when they dock and things like that. It's just them changing how it renders, or
exactly.
Like certain. It's why things like character interactions in video games often look awful, because actually managing the state of two completely separate objects and having them interact in a believable way, like a handshake or a kiss, is incredibly difficult. Like little things, just making them latch on where they're supposed to be. Like it's more efficient to then treat them as one object, and more accurate to treat them as one object. But then you've got to consider the transition, and it's a tricky problem. So I can sort of understand why it's like that. Let's just cut some corners here right now. It doesn't matter right now. We just need it to attach and be in the thing and not delete.
Yeah.
Let's just go with that. That'll work. I think it's that sort of thing that, remember when we talked about Doom's gameplay reveal, and I had that slight thing while I'm watching it going, I'm pretty sure there's frames where the enemy you're attacking disappears briefly as it swaps to glory kill mode, as the animation kicked in. Like I sort of picked up on that, and it's like that's it. That's that transition
exactly
problem
that thing.
happening.
Yeah.
And it still is a little clunky sometimes in Doom, but it was way better than what it showed there.
Mm.
Star Citizen. Could actually be how many years do you think we got until that thing actually comes out? I wouldn't be surprised if we've still got multiples.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a little while still.
Oh,
but it looks like it's coming
release dates. I was trying to remember. There was something I saw recently that actually has a release date now. Oh, I remember. It was they put Planet Coaster is on Steam now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Ah.
Or the pre-order of it, anyway.
Which one's Planet Coaster?
That's the good one.
That's the good.
by
Is that the Eve
Frontier.
devs?
No.
Sorry, Elite. Sorry,
Elite,
yeah. Hyperspace game.
It's the supposedly good one, but that's been put on Steam now, and so it actually has a release date now of November the something, 11th, 17th. I don't know. There was a one in there. November.
Okay.
So that'll be nice for that to actually come out.
Well, we're getting this September, guys. Games will come out soon. I mean, we've already had No Man's Sky, but games will be coming out soon. The year's rush will be upon us.
Mm. It begins.
Although saying that, I'm not really sure what I'm looking forward to.
No.
We were just speculating of whether you'd be playing Battlefield 1 on your new rig.
I mean, I'd like to see what it looks like, but then again, Battlefront looked really nice on my last machine.
Right.
That engine does magic, basically. Frostbite is magic.
Mm.
So, I imagine it will look amazing, right? But it already would have looked amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy Battlefield 1 just as a tech demo, and I'm honestly not that interested in another Battlefield game. It has the calling cards of it may be more fun than Battlefield 4 was, but I'm just not sure I'm into that style of game anymore. I don't know. I fell off Battlefield 4 so hard.
Yeah, that was because of Battlefield 4. That wasn't necessarily because you didn't like that kind of game.
I guess.
Just because Battlefield 4 made some bad decisions and had bad map design.
Yeah. It just didn't sit with me. 3 was a lot more... I'll admit, some of the smaller levels on 3 were a lot more fun. I'm still not a big fan of the big battle stuff, I don't think. I prefer it when it's kind of an intricate mix of the smaller vehicle types and on foot. As soon as you get a tank involved, or as soon as you get those enormous levels where it's just so much ground to cover, then it's I kind of like the stories, and I like the sound of the emergent gameplay that people create, but at the same time, it's not actually that fun. Getting sniped from 40 miles away by someone a bit like Zach.
You have to be smarter than that. Don't be running around where I can see you.
Why don't I play against you?
No.
that would be silly.
Well, it's not like I got that many kills like that, I guess. It's just funny.
Yeah.
To try it.
It's just
to be able to do it.
It's just I know I'd feel like I'd have more fun in a shorter space of time with a game like Rocket League. or better example, things like Halo. Halo's multiplayer, stuff like that. It's just I'm not sure that's what that style of game is what I'm looking for in a multiplayer anymore. Because of lifestyle, I guess. Because of life, I want quicker hits. I guess that's always been my style anyway. The quick hit.
Well, that's why you always play Assault.
Sure.
That's why you're the frontline guy.
Yeah. That's why I die repeatedly. Any other more hype games we're really looking forward to? Titanfall 2, I've still got my eye on.
Yeah, we were just discussing that one too.
Okay, yeah. The fact that they changed that the developers have been reacting
it might actually be bad.
Tech Test 2. Yeah, Tech Test 1 did not go down well at all. Just certain that it seemed to be they were getting you've already talked about it, I guess. Yeah, I won't restate, but yeah. It's good that they're reacting fast though.
But as we said, it's as this is the EA game, they've probably already got a set release date. So how much could they actually change during this time when they were probably only wanted to do bug fixes?
Yeah, I bet there are certain mechanics. I bet they probably can't change, but they can. There's probably enough around the edges of how those mechanics are balanced, or the Titan timer thing. It's kind of a big deal. It sounds like it's more like Overwatch's ults now and how they work. But I don't know. I hope that game's good, but like the initial impressions of what people have seen of the campaign sounds promising. Whether or not you're into its multiplayer or not, the campaign is the intrigue here, really. It's like if they pull it off, it could be great.
How much of that is there even going to be?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
I mean, how much is there going to be of anything in that game? That's the actual problem.
Sure.
We shall see.
So what else have you covered? Metal Gear Survive?
Oh, I don't care about that.
No, boy, that sounds like a misstep, right?
Blah, whatever. They're not even
Metal
making
Gear
games
for
anymore.
Dead.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, it didn't have to be a Metal Gear game.
No. They just shoehorned that in there.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh look, this trailer starts with Snake and the rig, and then it blows up, and then it's an alternate universe because fuck it.
Yeah.
So cut off those first 30 seconds of that video, and you've got a regular ass zombie survival game.
Why zombies? Why put it Metal? Just make a new. Well, I suppose a new IP wouldn't sell. Konami don't have anything.
Well, that's the problem with it, isn't it? They've put the Metal Gear license there in order to try and cover up the fact that it's just a zombie survival game, and there's already way too many of those.
Yeah, and boy, that Resident Evil shooter went down so well that.
Like, they're already there's still other people trying to make zombie survival games like that one that they showed at E3 that I have literally no idea what the name of it was.
Oh, did it have death in it?
Probably
dead something. No,
it was so
gone.
generic.
It's gone. The Sony one, right?
Yeah,
the Sony with the
horns. That was their fancy horn tech, which is something that has only existed for several years at this point.
Years gone, something like that.
Yeah, that
Days gone.
Yeah, that sounds
Days
about
gone.
right.
Days done.
That could be it. So yeah, other people are still making those. It's just like anyone who's still making them at this point, you're way too late for this band, right?
Oh look, there's still great examples, right? Like Last of Us showed us that people could still take zombies.
I don't think that's really a zombie survival.
It's not really I guess it's not a survival game.
It's just a stealth game, really.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's Uncharted with zombies, sort of.
It's more like Tomb Raider.
No, no. Last of Us is nothing like Tomb Raider. It just doesn't play like that at all. Uncharted is like Tomb Raider, and Tomb Raider is like Uncharted.
Well, you just said Uncharted was like Last of Us.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's got some of the feel of the character movement, but not in the actual play style. Can't really go gun-ho in that game very well.
Well, technically you weren't even really meant to go gung-ho in Tomb Raider. Really. It's quite an easy option.
And it's forced.
They don't really limit it as much.
It's forced upon you in some stages as well, as it is in Last of Us, I guess. But, they have to do the action sequence. It's like, oh no, you're rumbled. You've been made.
So, did anyone see the Olympic closing ceremony?
I did not.
Complete with
I do feel a little lost without the Olympics on telly though at the moment. It's like I know it was only on for 2 weeks, but that's pretty much all I watched.
Well, you could probably just go and watch all the stuff you missed on iPlayer for the next month.
Yeah, it's not as cool as just turning the telly on and it being there. I like that. Call me old school, but boy, sometimes just turning the telly on, regular ass telly, and watching some regular ass telly is a good time.
Well, the trouble was that every time I only ever really tried to watch any of the Olympics in the morning when I was waiting for my tea to brew and stuff. I'd just be like, oh, let's see what's happening right now. But basically every time I turned it on, it's like, oh, it's another fucking interview. Turn it off again.
It wasn't as bad as how the BBC can sometimes be.
I think it was just coincidental that every time I turned it on, it's like, oh, we've just transitioned into another interview.
I'll give them credit. It wasn't nearly as bad, and they did actually have 6 or 7 red button streams that were on Sky. They were just channels you could access.
Yeah.
So it's the sound wasn't that hot, but the image quality was good enough.
And I tried to watch some of it on some of the more interesting events on iPlayer as well. But the trouble with that is then that it's literally just the the whole live feed from the event, which means you get like 20 minutes of nothing happening at the start while they're setting up. Then the commentary kicks in. Then you get all the heats and stuff. And then at the end, there's like another 30 minutes before the medal ceremony where there's nothing happening because they've all gone away for a while.
Yeah.
Which is kind of awkward. You just have to like skip through it and try and guess where the ending is.
Yeah. Bit too hands-on.
It's like they could, like, they just needed to bring in some standard ass video player tech and just have like skip 2 markers where it's like, here's where the medal ceremony is and here's where the heat 1 starts or whatever.
Yeah. And I know it shouldn't bother me, but there are times where I hate the Brit-centricness of the BBC's coverage. It's like, it's just a little too Team GB, right?
It's a little bit too far, yeah. I mean, we
just
did do ludicrously well, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
There was a lot of Brit-centric coverage because there was actually stuff to cover.
But it's that thing where it's like they're so into it that they will show a repeat of us winning a gold like 4 times over the course of the day. And it's like, you're just like, there have been times where I flipped it on and been all like, oh no, I saw that montage. And then you'll go away. And then you'll come back like several hours later and go, oh, I wonder what's happening now. And they're still playing the same montage. And it's like, this montage never ends. Someone did some serious editing work last night. But no, it's just the same 2-minute cut or whatever. It was a bit, yeah, that bothers me. I mean, I get bothered about that when people say that on the news, and it's like, I'm in the minority, I think, on this one, but it's when they
they're
call
like,
out...
200 people died and 1 British bloke.
One of them was British. Yeah. It's, for some reason that winds me up. It's like, I kind of don't care how many Brits are on it. I care about the 100 part.
Yeah, exactly. They did it again with the Italian earthquake or whatever, didn't they?
Yeah, it's every time. It's just, that really bothers me. It shouldn't, but it's just like I'm not. Maybe I'm just not a patriot.
I don't think it matters so much for like the earthquake, for like natural disasters, but if it's like a terrorism thing, then maybe it's sort of more because the security of the country and like you get all the travel advisories and stuff at a certain point where it's like, English people shouldn't go here because a bunch of English people just died.
So the argument I've heard for that information being there is for people that have relatives or friends in those places, or might be on a plane at that point.
You only need to know that an earthquake has happened at that place, and then you go and find out whether your relatives are okay. You don't need the news to say, and also some English people died, so maybe you should check up on your English friends.
The thing is that, like, if English people didn't die, they might not have actually broadcast it. Is the other part of the news? It's like if there was just.
I don't think that would be the case. They have to report on everything, even like quite minor things. It's like, 10 people died. I call that quite minor.
If that was the case, we'd have way more like reports of suicide bombings and stuff going on in the Middle East. Like, just
that's true.
Yeah, but that's not because it's like
the problem is it's the same every day, so the news considers it boring.
There's a certain level of like.
You almost
rarity in occurrences.
Yeah, you almost want like a rapid news dump, right? At one point during the actual news to be like, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened.
Just list off how many people have died.
Yeah, or just
go down the list to see how many people have died today.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Is it? I don't know, because then you might have the problems where they're diminishing the importance of these events, right? Because they're just crapping them out.
Well, it's better than nothing, isn't it?
Or rather than doing like a 5-minute section on Hello Games that tells you nothing.
You got to educate the public about No Man's Sky. It's going to change the world, man.
No.
As we discussed, that wasn't actually the news.
No, it's not the news.
Some program.
Not the news.
No, it's on the news.
It was on the news channel.
And
they did do one news report.
Yeah, it was on like BBC One.
It wasn't the same. It wasn't the whole.
Oh no! It definitely wasn't the full clip.
Yeah,
but,
the whole thing.
So what?
So the ending ceremony.
Yeah, so it was the Mario pipe. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Did you see the Mario pipe?
Yeah, they because it's Japan. Like, what's Japan famous for? Mario. Good, right?
Yes. So they put a Mario pipe through the earth or whatever from Tokyo to Rio and got the Prime Minister of Japan to come out of the pipe dressed as Mario for 1 second before he removed the costume instantly.
Still awesome though.
Yeah. And he was like, what? And the Mario's cap, instead of saying M, said Tokyo, which is a bit strange. But
Yeah, a little bit.
Guess
You,
makes
you,
sense.
you probably didn't need to brand his hat, but
Well, you probably did need to brand his hat. It's
Yeah.
like,
You just give-
what is the insane deal that Nintendo had to do for that? When
Can-
it's like,
can-
well, how much money were you getting?
that's the thing. Mario doesn't always have to wear his dungarees, right? He could have just worn them like a Japanese Olympic outfit or something.
No, he full on wore standard Mario.
I was trying to think
That's what I
of
mean, they could have just
what's
made
in Mario
Mario.
and Sonic in the Olympic Games. I'm pretty sure he just wears his normal shit, right?
It depends on the sport, I guess.
Maybe.
Oh no,
I
it's
don't think
Peach and
so.
that always change, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, maybe Mario.
Only the
doesn't.
women wear, because they normally wear ridiculous dresses, which is why I guess why they have to wear that when they're doing sports.
Yeah. The wardrobe of the ladies is much greater than Mario's.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was just Mario. They had various kind of Japanese pop culture.
Well, Hello Kitty was in it.
Yeah, for example. So I think they're gonna be a bit spoilt for choice for like an Olympic mascot or something in Japan.
So they'll have to invent
they-
generic
they
ones,
don't-
won't they?
They won't use those.
No.
Wenlock.
I don't even know what the Rio ones were.
Well, there was some cat
It can't be
thing
as
and
bad
some
as
sun
Wenlock.
thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, it was a cat thing and then like a rainforest headed dude.
Or was it a tree?
Yeah, he had like green hair, right?
I can't remember. I can't remember the other one. I remember the cat dude. I mean, because of course. The sun cat. I think it was a sun cat.
Yeah, I don't know about like when it gets to Tokyo. It's like how video game is it going to be?
That opening ceremony is
Yeah.
going to be awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
you
It's,
assume so.
it's going to be the best opening ceremony.
I mean, you'd think that like it's going to be like 50% traditional Japanese and then 50% dumb video game shit.
Almost certainly. Yeah.
Man, they should have like. I don't know if they have, but they really should have just accepted sumo as being an Olympic sport for this, because it would have been that
Because
would
it would have been
kick
all
ass.
Japan medals.
Yeah.
No one
Japan
Well, the
would
thing is-
win.
Just like Kazakhstan and like.
Well, no. Here's the thing:
Wow.
like the two of the Yokozunas, I think at the moment are like Malaysian,
Well, sure, that's
like-
still not that.
or
That's
and
still pretty close
there's
to
a
it.
Brazilian that's in the top tier. You know, there's actually some international players in sumo, but like.
But, probably only technically or whatever because of the dumb way that international sports works, where it's like, which country are you registered to? You can compete for whoever the fuck you want, essentially. You just need a
Yeah.
passport.
Kinda, yeah. Man, sumo would be a great. Because the thing about sumo is it would just about work for the Olympics because they're 15-day events and not a tournament, a sumo tournament.
Well, I'm pretty sure it'd have to be like some kind of slightly cut down version of the Olympics.
Yeah, maybe.
Not the whole thing.
Well, yeah, because a sumo tournament is normally done league style,
Yeah.
or kinda,
Probably have to be like
and it's sort of judge fudged.
just like one knockout or whatever,
Yeah,
like the fencing.
yeah. But the thing is, the sumo fighters they only fight once a day, so that's the other problem you'd have to contend with. It's like, how do you whittle down something that big when a sumo wrestler normally only fights once a day?
Oh,
Is that the end of news,
it's
Quack?
the duck of news. Yeah.
Oh boy! Right, let's crack through some more then.
Yep.
We have actually got some more. Overwatch is getting an update.
Oh yeah.
Finally, it's getting a new map that seems very defense friendly from early plays that people have been playing. It's based on Germany. It's called Eichenwalde or Eichenwalde, however you say it. So
Germany
content, I guess. Eventually, finally,
Yes.
Adventure finally.
Adventure finally, yeah. Eventually. Eventually? Eventually? Alright, they said it wouldn't happen. They said they hadn't designed the game to be able to deal with it.
But now SimCity is offline. Wait, what?
Nice.
Fast Racing Neo is getting DLC next month, and I am hype. It's getting
Good.
8 new courses.
Good.
That game kicks ass. Tekken 7, they've confirmed it's getting a PC version early next year, although I think the console version comes out this year, so that happened. And the only other thing I've got is that, and you may have mentioned this already, PS4 Slim is real.
Yeah, we did mention that, but we didn't say anything other than it's real. Wow.
Yeah, well, it's real because it turned up on Gumtree.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, it's
Sounds
what
like
you
there's-
think it is.
Yeah, it's a small PS4. It's exactly what. It looks a little less sexy in its slim form. Like, not that I'm that.
Yeah.
I don't think the PS4 is actually that good a looking machine. I don't think. No, I'm not on the side of it being a nice looking machine, but whatever.
What was the last nice looking console though? I don't know. Don't like the Xbox One doesn't look good either. The new one looks okay.
I'm in the minority. I think the Xbox One looks okay. It looks kind of fine sat in the middle of an entertainment center. It's not like a blobby thing. It's not an awkward shape. It's just sort of there, and it works for me.
Yeah,
I don't need it.
It's not got much style to it though, is it?
No, but
box.
It's sort of stylish in a different way. If you see what I mean, that sort of understated look. But I'm okay with that. It's like what you want your amp to look like, I guess. You don't want your amp to be too crazy. Yeah, I don't know. What was a good looking GameCube? There you go.
GameCube, yeah.
Clearly.
Classic. I mean, the original 360 design is dated now, but I liked the whole intake of breath thing. Was kind of cool. I think it worked.
Neat idea.
Yeah. Although the replaceable fascias was a bit pointless.
Yeah. Oh, no, the super slim Xbox 360 isn't that bad looking.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
I like the new one is definitely good looking. I like the new one.
The new one is cool.
Although I wish it was in black.
My PS2 was the super slim PS2. That was quite nice. Although it didn't. It had because it was so slim, the tray. The CD situation wasn't very good because
it was a bit flimsy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
slim.
But I thought it looked cool.
Yeah, it's like the first PS3. Oh, I can't remember what the second. Did they do a second PS3 Slim design?
I don't think so.
Because they changed the first Slim design. I remember because they basically cheaped out on the parts, didn't they? They made it so it's like no touch buttons, physical buttons, and instead of the shiny plastic, we've got just plastic. Didn't look as good, but it was a lot smaller. Yeah, that's all I got really. I mean, there's that. Maybe you already talked about this as well. There's a new DualShock controller. A new version of DualShock 4, basically with a few minor tweaks.
A bit like they've done with the Xbox controller for the new one.
It's incredibly minor. Like in fairness, where the biggest thing to me seems to be that they've made it so the light bar is actually visible from the front as well as the back. There's like a little window onto the top of the touchpad, so you can see the color that it's.
Oh, I guess that's kind of cool.
That it is. It's kind of useful if you're playing a game that assigns its players colors, I guess. And then you want to know who am I? Because they're not 1, 2, 3, 4 some of the time. It's just like, oh, I'm orange or whatever. So that could be that's a tiny but somewhat notable addition. I hope they the big thing I've seen that everyone wants from it is just sort out that battery life,
Right.
I guess because of the light bar, it's probably not that good. But.
Yeah. Can you turn that off, or is it?
I think you can. Yeah. I think you can set it to just not use it unless the game specifically says otherwise. Presumably for games that use the eye.
The eye.
They still call it the eye, right?
I think so.
No, I don't think so. No? It's just called the PlayStation camera.
Oh, okay.
Seriously? Okay. News.
And that's news. That's all
okay. It's time for what you've been playing. What you've been playing?
Who's going first this week?
Rob? Since you've been away talking to...
talking to my mum about... She won't listen to this, so I can get away with this, but she can't make a decision for herself. It's like, I'm notably bad at decision making.
Yep, that's also true.
But my mum takes it, and for me to then say that someone else is bad at decision making, that is next level decision not makingness.
Isn't there a thing where like every little decision you make in your day drains your like decision
in theory, yeah,
or capacity? If she's coming in and taking your decisions, you can't make your own decisions because you
exactly. Well, the theory goes that and it's especially bad for people in, I guess, in tech sectors or programming.
You're making decisions constantly.
Well, yeah, every character press is almost a decision in some respects. But each tab, each indent.
You could have tapped the other thing. Yeah. I'm literally making decisions over how my code is indented constantly.
Yeah, should have used 4 spaces, man.
Yeah, exactly. I use 2 spaces now.
What?
I used to use tabs. Yeah, I've totally changed.
I'm tab man.
The only thing
they're like 4 bytes. They're like 3 bytes smaller than a regular 4 spaces.
Whatever.
I think I'd use tabs if I was going to do it, just because it's a single unit.
Yeah,
it's not like you could accidentally type 1 2 few spaces or something.
I like the idea of tabs more because it's one of those things that, with the exception of hanging code under like method groups that are related, if you're building a rather large link query, you want to have like bits of your structure like aligned.
Yeah,
where it's like, but I like the idea that tabs can be configurable. Yeah, so it's like if you want them to appear as 2, you can.
But that is the problem: is that if you then configure it, it messes up where you've tried to align stuff. Yeah, just like you say. And
I mean, it sort of still works, but sometimes it's not quite as pretty. It doesn't really matter that much.
So it doesn't really matter in terms of input because you just hit tab and it puts in 4 spaces if you've got it set up that way.
Yeah,
so it's no different when you're typing it.
Or Visual Studio will be constantly telling you you've mixed
too far.
Oh yeah. Or like Visual Studio will be constantly telling you you've mixed tabs and spaces. Do you want to tabify or spacify?
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, the spacify thing I find annoying because then it's like if I backspace it, you'll move stuff 1, and it's like, no, I want to move it a tab indent.
I use shift tab.
Then you have to like. But if you're just like, I need to delete that.
And also like drag selecting over spaces, that could suck. Yeah, on the rare times you're going to use a mouse that ever drags.
Yeah, I guess that's also true. Yeah.
Anyway, the classic programmer discussion. Nothing to do with actual programming.
No, absolutely nothing to do with it.
You save a few bytes. You do save a few bytes, and if you're a web designer, surely those couple of bytes are important to getting that 3 seconds or whatever.
No, screw it. I run my code through a minimizer anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, right, fine.
And you should do.
Even your straight
JavaScript.
Well, yeah, JavaScript it makes a bit more sense. I don't know. You're straight HTML, or do you still?
No,
specify that?
No, I'm not that worried about the HTML.
Okay.
I probably should be. I don't know. What? Yeah, I don't know. I don't minify the HTML at all. I minify the JavaScript and the CSS. But that's way bigger. Like, there's way more code in terms of the JavaScript and CSS than there is in the HTML.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah. I mean, I just don't minify my JavaScript because A, I can't be bothered, and B, debugging. I like to debug in the field at a moment's notice.
Oh, yeah, because I don't really debug stuff that's gone out or whatever. I guess I do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's totally personal. Most of what we do is desktop-based anyway. So I worry about that stuff less.
Programming. The only thing I still haven't done is semicolons. I still use semicolons, but you don't have to in JavaScript, but I always use them. And
wait, you don't have to use semicolons in JavaScript?
No, it's actually been a feature since 1996 that it's got this thing
called
it's got this thing called automatic semicolon insertion. The idea of JavaScript was to be easy to use or whatever for beginners.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be forgiving. Like, in HTML, if you don't close a tag, the browser just goes, "Oh, fine, I'll close it for you."
Well, sort of.
We'll
make mistakes.
Yeah. Same with JavaScript. It will automatically insert semicolons, but sometimes it's ambiguous. Not very often. So sometimes it's possible that it can cause a bug if you don't use semicolons.
Yeah, no, always use semicolons. That just seems obvious to me.
Yeah, but you've never had to. And I always have, and I always will. God damn it! Except maybe I'll change. But so far, that's the one thing I haven't changed. I used to use tabs, now I use spaces. I used to use 4 spaces, now I use 2 spaces. But the last thing is the semicolons. Got to keep the semicolons.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the semi.
Anyway,
what are we talking about?
I have no idea.
How did we get there?
I can't remember.
Games? Oh yeah, sofas somehow. Decisions.
Sofas? Decisions. Yeah.
We're talking about why Rob wants to talk about his game.
Yeah. So she's having me lay out, try and figure out because she wants to buy new couches. Basically, they've already redecorated the living room, in the Needham house. And,
Oh, really?
Yeah. Although I don't think they've done the carpet. I think they might have ruled out the carpet as too expensive, even though that's probably the thing that most needs doing.
Yeah.
How old is the carpet?
Older than me.
Yeah, probably.
Holy shit!
I think
probably doesn't need changing.
I think it's properly ancient. Yeah.
Like it's been there since you moved into that house. Since
Yeah.
they moved into that house, rather.
Yeah.
I guess you moved into that house as well.
Well, I think they did change all the carpets when they moved in, or something, or at some point. So, but some of the carpets aren't the originals. Like, actually, quite a lot of them aren't. It's just the living room one, I think.
Yeah, I bet
and the upstairs,
I would-
and mine and Rick's upstairs bedrooms, I think, are still the originals.
I would bet that at least one of the carpets in that house previously was like a really horrible dark brown shag.
Oh wow, yeah, I bet it
Classic,
was.
like 70s, 80s style
Man, that's when I see
residential carpets.
When I see pictures of the first kitchen, I do vaguely remember as a child where it's brown. It's all brown and beige and like not even wood brown. It's like that horrible painted brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did anyone think that was a good idea at the time? Like, what was in people's heads in the 70s?
It was a wood.
Shit,
They just wanted
apparently.
to make it look like wood.
Their mind was full of non-cake tainted shit.
Everyone's got a little bit of poo inside.
Quite a lot of the time, that's true.
Just a little bit. So trying to figure out how to lay out what couches she should buy and how it should lay out in the room and the various political problems between her and my dad apparently not giving a crap about what she does to the room, except has very specific requirements about where the computer and TV must be so he can look out the window and glance across to see the racing. Even though he does his online betting on a PC, and you could probably just watch the racing on the PC
Right.
where he sat.
Well, it depends what channel it's coming from.
Yeah, no, it'd be like At the Races on Sky or something, I think is his go-to. But
You could just have a laptop, though, surely.
Yeah, you could just
sit on
get
the
Skype.
couch and look over the laptop
could
at the
probably-
TV.
Well, yeah, I've tried to sell them on that idea as well. But Dad doesn't like the idea of a laptop or a tablet either. So it causes problems. Yeah, so that was what I was doing. I used the little window in like while I was standing outside the front of my house trying to minimise noise, where it's just like we used the little window on the door to try and map out, here's the room. So like there's the thing, and I'm pointing at the corners to be where things are. And... Oh, Mum. Just buy something and deal with it.
Yep, exactly.
That's basically where I ended that conversation. It's like, just buy the couches you like. You will have to make them work. Just do some measurement. So what have I actually been playing? Not a great deal really worth talking about, because I was at the point of finishing stuff last time we spoke, right?
Mhm.
So, I guess I spent like basically a week away from home doing work. So I haven't
You've been up
actually
in
been up
north.
north, doing a server migration, which we thought was okay, and then at the start of this week wasn't so okay.
Derek's wrong.
Oh boy, yeah, that was a bit of a pain. You think you've got everything down, and then stuff starts happening. In fairness, some of it wasn't even related to the migration. We had some third-party components just decide to fail on us for no good reason. Several days after the migration, it's like, well, son of a bitch. Anyway, so I started playing GTA 5
Oh,
when I got home, obviously.
okay. How's it look on your ridiculous rig?
It looks pretty good. Gotta be said, it looks pretty good. I can't. It's like so I've got it like maxed out on its normal settings and turned a few of the advanced settings up as well, just to get that draw distance.
Yeah.
And I think there are elements of that game that are straight up beautiful, but there are there's wrinkles here and there. So
Totally.
if we're talking pure aesthetics and pure graphical fidelity here, it's like it runs pretty well on my system. I don't get the
the top frame rate all the time. It does drop, but I've been couch gaming a lot of it, and it does maintain 60 just fine.
Nice.
I just don't go. I just can't maintain that 120.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it was. Bear in mind, it was sort of designed for the 360, kind of.
Originally, yeah.
Originally,
I mean, there are some places where I think that shows. Like, so I don't think the faces are all that. They're animated to show expressions and stuff, but there are moments where that facial animation just doesn't feel on point.
It's not bad, but it's like behind their own stuff in like LA or whatever, isn't it? So,
absolutely, yeah.
But I mean, there was just it was just performance captured in a more traditional way.
Oh
rather than the insane way they did for LA Noire.
Yeah, so sometimes that is a little bit jarring. I don't think it's quite as given that game has. And this is a massive positive for it. It has such an attention to detail.
It's ridiculous.
That the elements like that, where it's like, oh, your main characters, like the key story parts, it's like that could have been that little bit better.
Yeah.
Even for the this version of the game, even for like the Bone and the PS4 version and the PC when that came out, I think it could have been hotter. I
don't think they touched the facial stuff really.
No, maybe not. There are elements where I think that the vocals are just subtly out of sync from the animation and things like that, and that could just be a problem I'm having, but it's noticeable, and it's like for something that is like characterizes the main players so unbelievably well, that the presentation of them is a tiny bit jarring.
I mean, the performances are genuinely great, I think.
Oh,
Michael
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the performances; it's just how the entire portrayal of the main cast is just dead on, and not even some of the main cast. I kind of like Lamar; he's kind of awesome.
Yeah, Lamar's awesome. Everyone loves Lamar. When he gets so pissed off that he's not number one employee of the month.
Yeah,
that's so good, that sequence.
It's funny, there are weaker characters. Like, I don't think Simeon is much. Like he's kind of poop. Some of his turns of phrases are kind of funny, but he just comes across a little bit like standard Eastern European douchebag. It doesn't feel like they really tried much with him. Same possibly for. I've only seen Martin Madraza once, and he seemed a bit cliche and not okay, fine.
I don't think these characters
they're probably not fleshing them out that much, right?
I don't think they last long in the story. Not that they die or anything, but I don't think they're a big part of the story. Those.
It's like so. Here's right. Yeah, I'll come back to some of that stuff later. Like going back to the aesthetics and stuff. It's like I think there are elements that stand out great. Like when you see the water. I mean, you actually get a proper time to go into the sea, right, and get the lighting around the beach and stuff like that. That's like you sort of have to sit back a moment and go, "That's a pretty sweet looking beach."
It's like, what the hell? The lighting, just in general, is just ridiculous.
Yeah, just some of the waves look good. The way the waves start to break looks good.
It seems like a lot of games have suddenly got better at that.
Yeah,
it's like Just Cause 3 had unusually good water. It's like, why is this water so good? Especially Just Cause 3, where it's like you virtually never go underwater for any reason ever.
Yeah, I saw someone playing Just Cause 3 on a PS4 not that long ago, and just go underwater, and it's just like, oh, this is really pretty down here.
Yeah.
Have you swum underwater in 5 yet?
I have briefly, yeah, and it's comparable. Yeah,
they do it because there's a submarine later on, so they have to.
Oh yes, I'd heard about that. Yeah. It's pretty, but I did have some issues where I think it's a classic visual display problem where it's like the shader they use on the surface of the water to make it look all nicely wibbly and stuff like that and do camera effects seems to have problems with the edges of the screen, so you end up with a weird sort of screen border.
Oh, weird.
Where it's encroaching a bit into the niceness. But I even felt when you're there's that mission when you're Michael and you're swimming out to the boat randomly.
Oh yeah.
And it's that was the point where I noticed it because the camera's right next to the water, right?
Because you're daughters having a stupid party or something, always watching with dickheads or whatever,
with drug dealers and porn stars.
Yeah, and you're like, fuck that.
Yeah. That was where that came into play. And there are moments where I think it is a little or it could be a little bit. It doesn't look so good. Things don't look so good at a distance. Like, so when the camera pulls back and you see like the road texture like in front of you, like perhaps if you're driving a larger vehicle, then it's like, oh, okay, you can see that road texture is repeating quite badly. And, you know, there are a few moments where it's a little bit like that, where it's like, okay, no, I can see there's some corners cut there, or they didn't actually model reflections there. That's just a texture. That's just a texture of a reflection. And I kind of miss the fact that the wing mirrors and stuff sort of work, but don't.
Right.
It's really weird. Like, it is actually a reflection map, but it's just stretched.
Of the environment.
And it's, yeah. It's like I kind of want them to work if I'm playing first-person mode, which I haven't been doing all that much of.
No, I didn't.
I kind of just like it for. I kind of just like it for driving around sometimes, like if I'm doing a nice casual drive.
Yeah.
But the driving mechanics are way improved over 4.
They're really good.
I much prefer them. And it's,
4 had a kind of eye charm to me. Like, I quite like the really heavy handling of the like ridiculous muscle cars.
Oh, sure.
But it wasn't as fun. It was very particular, and
it doesn't necessarily make for great gameplay moments. I think was my problem with it. It's kind of you're right. The handling's kind of fun, and in some ways it made the cars look believable, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't necessarily lend itself to helping you play the game.
No. It made it harder to pull off like cool chases and stuff because it was quite hard not to crash and stuff at high speed.
But I do think that is a problem that still exists in this game, not necessarily with the cars anymore, but the on-foot stuff has such a weight to it.
It's still got that weight. It's not quite because Red Dead had that weight as well, which got in places. But
I don't think it's any worse than Red Dead's. But I also don't think it's any better.
It's not got a lot better.
I find it like there's delay in actions. Like when you want to actually do something, it feels like you've got to wait for your character to do it, and it's like, don't get me wrong, the look of it is believable.
Yeah.
But you want from a gameplay, I kind of like that immediacy, and you just don't get that with this.
Yeah, I guess it's quite interesting that they've done that trade-off because most games don't even try and make it look realistic. They just have you be fully responsive all the time.
Or the animation will play way faster than it would in real life, right?
Yeah. Of course, that's easier in first-person games because you can't see your character animating really weird and changing direction instantly.
Yeah, you don't need to see their feet doing like crazy DDR style. Actions.
Yeah.
So I actually don't. I'm not sure I'm enjoying the bits where it's on foot because I'm getting a bit confused with the controls. And I've tried it like on controller and I've tried it on keyboard, and it just doesn't feel good to me. And it's like I don't mind the scenarios that it's putting me in. I'm not sure I have a particularly great time doing shootouts,
right,
or stuff like that. And
I thought the shooting certainly got a lot better since obviously 4. I think it's on par with a Red Dead, as I say, but it's like that doesn't necessarily mean it's like super hot. And no,
it's also not super.
It's also not super hot. Yeah,
hot. I know what you mean.
Yeah, there's a lot to like, but there's a lot to. I still have
really
some niggles.
Effective.
Oh yeah, and then the fact that there's that little camera glint when you get one, or when you kill someone and stuff like that. So if you're doing your shooting with a mouse, the game suddenly gets way easier.
Yes. But, in fact, I actually played it switching. So if there was a shootout, I would use a mouse, and then I'd.
So I do that. I do that if I'm sat at my desk, but if I'm couch gaming, then I'll just do it on a 360 pad and see how I go. I don't like how it swaps. How buttons are in different places that do the same thing depending on context.
Right.
So, like when you're driving, the switch weapon button is something else that I actually can't remember off the top of my head. To when you're fighting, when you're fighting, it's somewhere else on foot. Like one of the times it's X, and one of the times it's something else, and I always forget what that something else is, so I'm always pressing X, and it's like, oh wait, but that's not the right one in this scenario, and. Obviously, they've tried to make drive-by shooting a bit easier, but then you have to like do the double trigger thing, which I never found that comfortable. Right? You have to.
Yeah, that is quite hard. I mean, you can do it. I mean, and with the mouse, it's actually quite easy to drive by people. Although, if you, because because you can just look independent of the vehicle and just shoot.
Sure.
And that's
I
quite
see.
easy. So I would recommend that. If you need to drive by and you're at your desk or whatever, drive the car with WSAD and just shoot the crap out of people. It's relatively easy.
Just mouse look. Okay,
you can even shoot tires of vehicles and stuff and cause chaos that way.
Oh, cool. But the auto aim does seem relatively generous.
It
on
is.
drive-bys.
Yeah.
Like there was pretty much there's that boat chase near the start of the game, and let's say boat chase, you're driving,
And you're on the
chasing
highway.
boat,
Yeah.
and it's like there's the bit where you're supposed to shoot that guy who's about to throw Franklin off the boat or whatever, and it's like I'm pretty sure I shot Franklin.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it just
that whole
counters, and
sequence
it's
is like quite.
it's a bit
carefully-
clunky, that
yeah.
sequence, actually.
I mean, because
like
it's so spectacular, but it's like you can see how they must have had to really massage that, because I don't really understand how that works. If you run out of time, or
Oh no! If you run out of time, things happen and you fail. Because
Right,
I learned that
okay.
the hard way. Like there were points of
Okay.
time where it's like I'm not actually in range of the boat, but Franklin's still going to jump. Oh, okay. I'm just going to murder myself on the road because I
Right.
reached the point in time where he has to jump. Otherwise,
Right.
the sequence doesn't play out right. So he just
Okay.
jumps, and then you fail.
and you fail. Oh, okay.
And it looks hilarious because it's like
Okay.
I'm not near anything. Huzzah!
Whee! Right, yeah. I've never screwed that up. I don't think I've only done it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it took me a few attempts to get that sequence to play out right. But
Yeah, but I know what you mean. I think that might even be contextual, like extra help with aiming just for that, just for sequences like that. Just
Yeah,
where
maybe.
they need
Maybe.
to make it look cool. Yeah.
I'm all for that because I'm enjoying the game more for the experience of the world more than I am the game. If you see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the
It's
world.
like
is
the world is
amazing.
so well realized. It is actually like I think I sort of said this at the time about GTA 4, but boy, this takes it to the next level and then
It's
some.
insane.
It's mind blowing.
It's like when I'm like as a programmer as well. When I drive down the street in GTA 5, I'm like, this is like a miracle. How did this happen?
I mean,
like, how much
you can't
work
do this.
has got into this.
I mean, it actually the world actually sort of works on its own. Is the other thing?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have that thing where you stand around like in Just Cause, the time to Just Cause video, which I loved, by the way. Like, where you just stand still,
Like a
and
time
eventually everything around you turns to chaos.
Really?
I don't know. I have seen videos of GTA 5 where that happens as well.
Yeah, it's not too on con. I mean, it's because it's actually simulating. But that game simulates. Like it's like crime will happen and people will react to it and cops will get involved regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's staggering. It really is. And it's just you're wandering around. You're looking at every store is individual.
Yeah.
So I took a moment just walking down the pier, going, none of this is repeated.
Yeah.
Not one part of this is a repeating element. It's all been crafted,
Mm.
and it's astonishing. It's as much as I have my foibles about the game being a game. As just a piece of work.
Yeah.
You can't help but marvel at it. It's unbelievable.
It's an amazing thing.
And I'm late to the party on this. I get that, but I'm like even knowing all that stuff going into it. It blows me away. It really does.
You are seeing it in the best possible light as well on the PC version, on a fast machine and everything. So,
Well, sure, but then have you seen the thing about this Redux mod?
well,
Like
there's
GTA
always,
Redux.
there's always
Like
some
the-
Redux mod, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the big one that supposedly like adjusts a lot of the weather dynamics to be more realistic and
Right.
the weather, the rain especially to look good. And
I mean, I like the way
night
the rain
lighting
looks in the base game. Actually,
I mean,
The way
it looks okay.
the way the water pulls on the roads and stuff and reflects the city lights and stuff is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's not terrible, is what I would describe that. It's not like I would say that it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But I think games of the obvious
Come on a
example
bit,
is
yeah.
like that recent Need for Speed game, like
Right,
did
yeah.
night the look of night driving way better. But GTA has more going on, so I can forgive it for that a little small misstep.
Yeah.
It's.
So have
So
you?
I'm like 8.5 hours in, so I've done my first heist.
You've
was
done
the
a
last
heist.
thing.
Okay, that's what
I did the
about to
first
ask.
one. Yeah.
Oh, what do you think of the first one? The jewelry store robbery, right?
Yeah, it's okay. I think I'm assuming that they're breaking you in easy to them, and it's like I definitely feel like they're that it should have got to that sooner.
Right. Yeah, I see.
So
what you mean.
I'm 8.5 hours into playing this game.
There's quite a lot of setup just to get to that first heist.
Yeah.
To be honest, there aren't that many heists. I mean, a lot of the game is preparing for heists, really.
Mm. But I don't mind that either. It feels more purposeful than some of the missions where it's like I don't know quite what's going on here. Like, and some of the the setup stuff for the jewelry is quite easy, right? It's like the roof.
It's quite fun.
Go steal a van. Actually, stealing I did the smart option, and so it's like stealing the knockout gas actually proved to be a royal pain in the ass because that stopping the security van is hard.
It is quite hard because that's down by the docks, isn't it? And there's tons of.
No! That's stealing the van. That's stealing the Bug Zapper van. Like stopping the security van that holds the knockout gas was the tricky bit. Like stealing the van was easy because I just went around back. There's a guy like repeatedly checking the same checklist over and over again. So you just creep up and mash him over the head and then steal the van. There you go. Problem solved. No cops, no drama, no one noticed. Success. But yeah, no, stealing the security van. Oh boy, because the drivers peg you onto them real easily, and then just peg it, and it ended up on this like several mile, like after ramming him off the road, and I got him onto the wrong side of the road, and then he started driving up the highway on the wrong side of the road himself. But he's really good at dodging traffic, and the traffic is really good at dodging him. And I'm behind him, getting the remnants of this traffic that has dodged him, and it's like, oh. Man, that went on for friggin' ages.
That sounds awesome.
And this was like my third or fourth attempt at this until eventually I managed to ram him into a tree and he got a bit stuck. But then he jumped out and started shooting at me. So we started having a shootout with this dude, like just to steal his truck. And at that point, the cops were aware.
Yeah.
And so I'd driven so far out of Los Santos that the highway got a bit skank, and there was conveniently a little bit of overpass. So I hid this van under an overpass, waiting for the cops, for the cop level to just die down. And then they have to take this friggin' long ass drive back
all
into
the way
town
back
to deliver the thing. Yeah. It's like it's kind of epic, but like that was like my third or fourth attempt at getting this van. The rest of them had gone really badly.
Right.
like he just escaped. There was one time where again controls. For some reason, I'm drawn to the Y button all the time because, like, for some reason, I think it does. Like unintentionally, I just keep pressing Y.
You just keep jumping out of the car.
So there was a moment where I'd got the van like quite early in the sequence, so I'm still in the city bits, and I'm just sort of changing off ramps, and I'm going up one, and I'm just sort of casually driving away. The cops are on me at this point, but they can't see me. And then for some reason, I press Y at just the wrong moment. Dive out the side of this security van, but because it's an off ramp in the sky, like I dive over the edge of the barrier.
Nice.
fall like 50 feet. Survive somehow. Steal a car down there, and I'm trying to get my way back up to the van, but the route to get back up to this off ramp is so long that it goes, you left the van behind, and it's like, God damn it.
Oh, that's not fair, is it?
So it's not quite so, and the game isn't like you can. It's very good at concealing it, but the game isn't simulating very far away from you. No,
it doesn't.
There was a moment where I purposefully one of my attempts at getting this van. I purposefully created a massive traffic jam by getting by driving up the highway the wrong way, and a sort of a big old truck managed to jackknife and just blocked the road, and I'm like. Excellent.
Sweet.
This is going to work. This is going to work well. So the security van was still a long way away at the time, and I sort of thought, well, I'll just wait for traffic to bunch up behind it, and he'll be stuck in it, right? So then after a while, I start wandering my way, like making my way up the road. I was running on tops of cars just to be cool.
Naturally,
at this point,
it's fun.
And I get to it doesn't take me very long to get a bit further up, and I just turn around and go, oh, well, the traffic's gone.
They've disappeared. Yeah. Yeah. It still does that. Yeah. It must be such a hard problem. It's amazing what's going on in the game. Like, yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, I really hope that would have been awesome if that plan had worked.
True.
Like properly, but it's like can't quite do everything you think of.
Mm.
But yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I do want to keep going. I kind of hope the player characters become more likable.
Have you met Trevor?
Because I haven't met Trevor yet.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I'm having a real hard time liking anyone in that game. Like I know it's the game's
Because
I know it's
Yeah.
the game's tone, and I know that's what it's going for. Every and the game like specifically calls it out. Right, everyone in
Yeah.
that game is an asshole,
yeah,
and the world itself and the people in it, everything is an
Yeah.
asshole.
basically that's
It's
it.
like, and like I get that, but boy, does that make living with these characters hard. Like it's the
Yeah.
Altair problem again.
It is. Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah,
Like it's not just your characters as well; it's everyone around
yeah.
you. Like
It is
like,
everyone.
Michael's family is just the worst.
Yeah, his son is
Like-
hilarious, and his daughter and his wife, and yeah.
I mean, and that stretches my like, it's the same problem I have with like frustration comedy, right? You know, that kind of like it stretches me to the point where it's like this is unbearable. Like no one would be like this, right? Right?
I don't know. That kid is quite realistic.
Oh man, that's scary. That's
Yeah.
so scary.
But like, it gets thrown into contrast by Trevor, who really is even further like full on. Like he gets introduced as in a really grim way, which you'll see. But
I think I know about that already. Yeah,
but yeah, you probably should because if you
the
if you
famous
didn't-
bit.
well, I don't know. Is it famous? I don't know because
There was a torture scene that was
No,
made a big.
oh yeah, that is famous and that is awful. That is genuinely terrible, and I wish you could skip that mission, to be honest. But anyway, no, when Trevor gets introduced, which you will be very close to, he's introduced by murdering one of the player characters from a previous GTA game that you played as for like 8 hours or something. Like he kills the main character of the Lost and Damned expansion.
Oh, okay, not quite what I had in mind, but that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Oh
And
boy,
if-
there was a
if you
neat
never
Nico
played Lost
reference
and
I came
Damned-
across.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
neat-
there's a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some Eastern European guy who was
Yeah.
making moves in Liberty City, but he's gone quiet. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, smart. Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the guy from the motorcycle gang that you play in the expansion pack to GTA 4, Lost and Damned. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't. Yeah, I
Yeah,
probably
I
wouldn't have remembered well enough, but
Yeah.
because I didn't play any of the expansions. But
yeah, you won't have played that one. But yeah, if you think Michael's an asshole, then just wait till you meet Trevor.
Well, there's the difference in like being.
Yeah, exactly. They're different. They're
I
assholes in
think
different
like
ways.
yeah, I think from my I might be okay with Trevor's level of assholery because it's probably so exaggerated, right, that it becomes comic or it becomes it's that point where it's like it's so close to being believable or is believable assholery where it's, that just it grinds me like in certain ways and I guess that is one of GTA's core strengths, right? That
I mean, at least
to some extent a great deal of it is believable, right?
that's the trouble. And but that's the thing is that like they are less sympathetic than I think previous GTA protagonists. But then Nico didn't make any sense.
No,
Right,
Nico
because-
didn't make sense.
Yeah, because
he's
was
trying
like
to be
this-
he's trying to be a good guy, but
Yeah.
then like just casually killed dudes. And to be fair, Franklin is kind of that.
He is
in
kind
this.
of that way. Yeah.
He's a good kid who murders indiscriminately.
Yeah, I mean the way the series of missions where Franklin is like he's a small time guy stealing cars, and then there's a series of missions where he basically becomes a hitman, and by the end of it he has a giant house in Beverly Hills, and it's like
they
he
sort of, you sort of already see that from the artwork that's in the game as
Yeah.
well, like in the loading sequence, which by the way is long.
oh yeah, of course it is.
That first load is massive.
But then
But-
after that it's fine.
yeah,
like,
not
even-
a problem.
On PC, even switching between the characters is not bad. It's
No,
quite slow
that's-
on. It used to be
it's-
slow on the 360.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I don't mind I haven't had problems with the character switching.
Do you
But, yeah,
like
it's
the
just-
little moments when you switch characters? Sometimes they always there's
I've
quite a
had
few.
quite a
of them.
few of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
some of them are all right. Some of them are just a little bit a little bit contrived.
Yeah,
But some of the more casual ones I quite like, where he's just like walking. I had one where Franklin was just walking down a random set of steps, and a lady walks by, and he goes, "What's happening?" It's just like it's the little ones I think I
Yeah.
like more than the sort of
yeah, little subtle ones.
because pretty much every time I swap to Michael, he's having an argument with someone.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just like, oh really? Okay.
As you can imagine, Trevor's got some good ones, so you'll find out. Anyway,
Is
Cool.
there much point in doing the random stuff that happens, like
I didn't do it.
The mini crimes?
No,
Like-
I think they put them in there because they work so well in Red Dead, but they don't make as much sense in GTA. They were they're really good in Red Dead.
They basically don't really give you any rewards half the time
No,
either.
I don't think they're worth it. Whereas in Red Dead, they were a really good part of the game, I thought, and there were more variety to them. But that was because it was a wilderness or whatever. Whereas in the city, it makes much less sense to me. So I never really bothered with the random. I mean, you got like random, the hidden character question mark type missions or whatever.
but the strangers and freaks.
Yeah, strangers or whatever. Yeah, but
the paparazzo one struck me as a bit odd.
Yeah, I don't know. They're quite
Especially
fun
that
to
second
play.
one. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but it's just
they're
like,
dodgy.
why is Franklin doing this?
Yeah,
It's actually more the question. It's like, why?
that's
Why are you?
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much true of all. I mean, with Trevor, you get ones where there's this old couple of English people who are obsessed with celebrities, that you like help out for no reason. Like, there's quite a bit of that weirdness.
Yeah, just why? At least with like Red Dead's Stranger and Freaks things, they were set up as in
They
you
make
have
more sense.
you have an encounter.
Yeah.
And then and it's not really a mission per se. It's not like you go off and you're locked to this thing for a while.
Yeah.
It's like you have an encounter, and then it's up to you whether you play out the rest of it by doing the things that encounter entails. And it's like that's that in I think that would, in Red Dead's case at least, that makes a huge amount of sense.
Yeah, it was great.
It's-
Yeah.
So
Like-
yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've got way further into it than I did with GTA 4,
Before,
and I definitely haven't hit the annoyance factor. But then again, I think GTA 4 actually, let's call it, I guess it progressed faster in terms of the stakes of what you were doing.
Right.
Because the point is where I stopped is where there were rocket launchers and sniping, and
Right.
the stakes have got pretty high.
That's true.
At that
Well, this
point,
one's
and
going to
it's-
open up quite a bit once you unlock the third character, and then you've got the desert area and the whole other areas of the. I mean, you could probably go to them right now, can you? I don't know if it blocks it
I don't
off.
think there's anything blocking you.
No,
It's just,
but you haven't spent much.
as I
time
say, I
with
drove
it.
quite a long way out of Los Santos chasing that bat.
Yeah, and then you've got aircraft missions with helicopters and planes and stuff. That's quite fun.
Also, the soundtrack is so good.
Yeah,
It's
Really,
so good.
really good.
Your man Danny Brown's there.
yep.
Your man.
Oh, he's got a new album coming out really soon, and I'm so excited.
It's good. Well, I haven't heard the stuff that's in the game in this game, to be honest. So it's like it's good stuff.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
good
it.
stuff. Yeah. I do tend to listen to the hip hop station when I'm playing as Franklin. Makes sense.
Well, it's because it sort of defaults to it.
Yeah,
I quite like you just
I like
if you're
that
driving Franklin's cars, it's like it's just got Franklin style music on. Or,
I never liked his green bike. It took me until the second playthrough to realize I could just pimp it out and change it completely.
I haven't used it yet. I would just get in the car.
Yeah.
He's
You could
got a
pimp out
cool
the car as well. I recommend, doing some upgrades.
So-
on the-
If you're upgrading the personal vehicles,
yes,
then so the personal vehicles can't actually be lost, can they? They'll get impounded every now and then.
so that's a good one to upgrade.
Yeah, because sort of my problem with I never know quite how the garage system works. If I take the car out, is that me actually taking the car out? If I go back to the garage later, will it be there? Will the garage be empty?
I think it is relatively safe, but I never really used it. I just used I used it to store cars, but I never thought of them as mine or whatever. I just was like, oh, there's a nice one. I'll keep it for the next time. But generally, the personal vehicles are pretty good. Like the Franklin's.
Well, Franklin's
cars,
one is nice. Yeah, it's one you actually want to drive around. I mean,
but like the
Comet,
BMW one
not
is
so much,
alright.
but,
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fast enough.
I did like when I had a moment like talking about detail and stuff like that, where I swapped to the inside of some of the interiors aren't they're not that well modelled. Rather, the texture detail and the dials even is quite low.
Yeah,
but there was one thing I noticed driving Michael's Comet where I just sort of I looked right for a second and I saw some text on his radio and I was like, would they have modelled that?
Yeah, they did.
Just a little thing. Yeah, they totally did. That's actually what's playing on the radio right now, and it's just that. Oh man.
It's ridiculous.
Just the little things. It's like, actually, the core problem of there being so many little things in this game is that suddenly you start thinking you can do everything.
Yeah, you just expect everything to
yeah,
work. Right?
You spot arcade games about the place and you go, oh, I can play that, right? Because of course I can. And it's like, oh no, actually I can't.
There's something you can play out
like,
there that were in...
There's like Cube or something I couldn't. And I saw that there was a game called Penetrator that I couldn't.
Oh, right.
I haven't come across one that I can actually play.
I think there might be one you can play that's in a strip club much later on. I can't remember if that was in 5. Yeah, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it just gets to the point where it's
and you've got the whole internet as well.
The internet! Oh my word! It's like, I know that was in 4, but it kind of felt like it just sort of existed in 4. But now, because they've modelled it so it's on your phone.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere with you. And it's deep!
Yeah, there's quite a lot of sites.
That thing, you go on like Life Invader, and like it's actually updating as you progress through the game with things you might never see. That game's incredible.
It's ridiculous. And the TD stations, there's quite a few of those.
Yeah, I did sit and watch, what was it, Impotent Rage.
Yeah, right.
I went and watched a film as well, a stupid Spanish language or Italian film that just had like dying horses and existential bullcrap to the point where the actual narrator character, who I think is supposed to be like the lead or whatever, just at one point in when they're talking about all this stuff, just goes, "For fuck's sake, what's going on?" It's just, it's so big.
It's ridiculous.
It's in some ways the most intimidating thing you could ever lay your hands on. But the sheer fact that you don't have to do any of that.
Mm-hmm. I like that it doesn't paralyze you with choice, because you can always just choose to do the next story mission, and that is a nice, easy route through the game.
For the most part, just ignore everything.
Sure.
It has got the hangout system from GTA 4, but it's 100% optional.
Yeah. There's no.
You have to instigate it.
Yeah.
And it's.
Hey,
Nico, you want to go bowling?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. I mean, that was funny.
First time.
I mean, they screwed that up, obviously, but the fact that is now a meme, like 10 years later, is quite funny.
Yeah, and I'm glad the girlfriend system hasn't shown up yet, or whatever. It's all that stuff.
That never really worked that well.
Oh man, I'm playing this just thinking to myself, going, Red Dead 2, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good. Oh my god!
Imagine how good that is. Well,
I'm so excited.
3, I guess you'd call it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh my god. And that is definitely what they're working on. And they're still delayed. They didn't even show it at E3. So the moment they show that, I'm going to be like so hyped. I really hope it's on PC and I don't have to, but I will immediately buy a PS4 if it's not.
Oh yeah, minor note. Was it maybe in the next week or so, we will know what PS4 Neo will be like. Sorry,
right.
News we missed. Like it's the PlayStation meeting is like next week or something, and they're going to detail what that thing is.
Okay. Well, it's going to have trouble competing with the Xbox thingy.
The Scorpio, yeah, but it's probably going to come out like not that long after the announcement. I bet. But... Yeah, so yeah, that's all I've got to really say this week. Other than I played a lot more Overwatch, and I'm still playing a lot of that. And Zach, we've been playing Rocket League, and that's it's all I've got going on right now. I'm sort of going to try and focus on GTA. More so than I normally do with games. I'm going to try and zero in on that, and because it's just so big. I think I'm going to have to go at it.
Yeah,
just go at it hard until I'm done.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh, well, we'll hear more about it next week, I guess. I mean,
I'm sure the bulk of these first impressions will carry over. It's like I don't. When you first play a game, when you always get that massive blurb of here's what this game is and here's what I think of it. But so there will be more for sure. There
will be more. Coolio. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. One of my favorite games, obviously. Although I still and once you finished it, you'll have more perspective. But I'm still not sure what's actually a better game. I think Red Dead might be a better game overall. But
I'm thinking it that way because it sets its tone and it sets the style of how it plays seems to fit that game better.
Yeah,
and it's don't get me wrong, I wouldn't not be surprised if by the end of playing GTA 5 and I'm sick to death of it, that I come away and think this is possibly the greatest gaming achievement.
Yeah.
Because I've already got that feeling right now. It's just, you've probably got from all my superlatives. It's unbelievable what that thing is.
Yeah.
And but at the favorite game, no. I'm not sure I'd go that far. Like, it doesn't play as well as many other games, and I'm not sure I'm having the best fun with it.
Yeah.
But as a thing that exists, it's like art. You just have to appreciate it. Drink it in.
Drink it all in. Right, should we move on to Seg? It is Seg time. You've got 5 minutes. No,
sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
And luckily, I haven't really played that much else, I guess.
How's No Man's Sky?
Well, I'm done. Pretty much.
Oh, really?
You're done?
Probably. Except not actually done. That's the trouble.
You've done them.
I've done them.
Yeah.
That was the catchphrase of Rocket League.
Last night, we just kept playing, he's done him! When you get past your opponents.
Or when you haven't. Just keep saying it.
Well, yeah, that's what Kips generally does. Something happens once, and then he'll just keep saying, it's in!
Yeah, it's in.
It's in!
Other version of he's done
Nice.
it.
They just shoot it into the corner. It's in!
So you're done?
Well, as I was speculating last time about No Man's Sky, about how much content there might actually be, it did seem like that I was pretty much right in the fact that it pretty much ran out immediately as soon as I thought it would. Where it's just like, these upgrades go up to like +4 and that's it.
Right.
then it just stops. There's nothing else.
And then how much more game is there past that point?
Well, that's the trouble, is like, it's...
Depends what you mean by game, doesn't it, I suppose?
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's like once I started specifically grinding to upgrade my ship inventory capacity and my suit inventory capacity and the multi-tool and all that stuff. Because in case I hadn't specifically mentioned this before, like you use inventory slots to put the upgrades in. So like the upgrades take inventory slots that you'd otherwise use to store stuff, I guess.
Okay.
So in the early game, it's like, well, I can't really install that many ship upgrades because I need space in my ship to carry shit. And the same for the suit. But once I went into grind mode and just they got my suit and my ship as big as possible, so I had enough space for the upgrades and everything I was carrying, it was like, well, I guess now I'm done. But now there's also no reason to do all this because that's like, once you have sufficient upgrades, it doesn't get any more difficult because everything's the same everywhere. It's like my multi-tool thing has got all the mining upgrades on it, so it mines as fast as it can, and then that's just it. It's like my ship, I've got all the upgrades for the laser, and that's just it. And the suit, I've got all the different environmental protections, and that's that. So yeah, once I upgraded it all, I was like, this is just going to be nothing but warping from place to place until I get to the end, isn't it? Because there's not ever actually anything else to do.
No, you're just going to have to get resources enough to
refuel. Yeah.
And just keep going.
So that's kind of where I stopped. And also the trouble is, like, it's a bit dumb because I'm not entirely certain about this because I've only really vaguely read about it in a sort of semi-non-spoilery way, but so there's sort of two main ways to go through the game, sort of, except not really, where one of them you have to travel to these special space temple things.
Atlas. You can say Atlas.
Yeah, Atlas.
Yeah.
You have to travel to the space temple things and get the weird stones that it gives you, and you have to do that 11 times, and then it basically just ends.
Right.
As far as I know.
So you don't get, well, as presumably the path is going towards the centre anyway, right?
Well, not really. I think it just points you to a nearby Atlas temple thing.
Okay.
And then you just do that 11 times, as far as I know, and then it just ends. Maybe I'm not sure about what actually happens at the end of that. But apparently, you do it 11 times specifically. So I was like, well, that's weird. And then the other option is to like travel to the center of the galaxy using black holes as a shortcut. Except I tried that, and as far as I can tell, the black holes don't really work as a shortcut. Maybe because it's random. Like it said, here's the nearest black hole, go there. And I was like, okay, I'll go there and I'll go in this black hole, and then obviously it will act as a wormhole or whatever, and I'll just come out somewhere else. But when I looked at like the distance from center that's in the star map, it's like the black hole says, "Oh, you've travelled 74,000 light years through that black hole." But then when you look at the map, it's like, "Oh, apparently I travelled 74,000 light years parallel to the middle of the galaxy because I've basically not got any closer." So at that point, I was like, "Well, okay, black holes may be unreliable, so maybe I just try and warp to the middle of the galaxy myself." But then I actually looked at that and tried to calculate.
Can you go back through the black hole? Like, is that possible?
Don't know. It's like I've never turned around to see whether there's an exit when you come out the other side. You sort of appear.
Yeah. That would be interesting if it's sort of one way. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, the planets you've discovered you can't actually get back to.
Because they're on the other side of the universe. Yeah. Maybe. So 74,000 light years, technically not that far, I guess. Because I calculated it. I looked at it and it was like, when you've got all the warp upgrades for your ship, it seems like the maximum warp range is about 1,500 light years. And I was like, then I looked at how far it was to the middle of the galaxy. It's like, it's 174,000 light years, so that means I'd have to do about 150 warps. And it's just like, well, not going to do that either, I guess. Because and it's like at that point it would just be like you'd warp 5 or 6 times until your fuel run out, and then you just have to go to a planet and mine shit until you refill the fuel, and then you just do it again. It's like, that's not interesting in any way.
And you'd have to do it like 50 times.
150, probably.
Yeah. Well,
by my estimation. Unless the black holes turned out to be slightly more useful at some point.
So you get 1,000 light years per jump.
Well, yeah, about 1,500 at maximum. And yeah, and like you get.
So, did you find any of the 11 Apollo things? If you have to do it, I did. Have you done it once?
I did like 2 or 3 of them. I jumped backwards and forwards between the 2 different options of like going to the Atlas things and going through the black holes because it doesn't seem to care. It's just like, do either.
Even though do you specifically make a choice? Is it one of those? Is it just like an open choice at the start of the game, or?
Well, it seems like I'm not sure if you.
Do you have to at least trigger Atlas or something, or?
Yeah, I think. Well. Yeah, I don't know how exactly. Maybe if you miss the very first choice, like the literal thing that's at the crash site of your first ship, if you don't do that, maybe none of it happens. Like neither of those 2 options.
Oh yeah, because you don't. I have heard there is 3 basically. Like you just don't. You decide not to do either of those.
Well, yeah, but deciding not to do either of them isn't really a choice at all, because that's just like if you don't do either of those, you can just like explore the planet and collect all the stuff you need. You're just not being told to do it. Right. It's essentially the same, apart from you're just not being told what to do. So the third choice isn't really any different. It just might take longer, I guess, because technically when you do what you'd call the tutorial, I suppose, that gives you faster access to like getting your hyperdrive working and learning the recipes to make the fuel for the hyperdrive and that kind of stuff. So you could technically just collect those by exploring, but it wouldn't be as direct.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that probably, I guess. It's weird because
they are thinking about a lot of. They seem to have reasonable plans for updating that thing.
Well, yeah, but that's like
there's a base
weird
building
in itself.
thing coming.
Well, that was the thing that
whatever that's about, because you're never really stationary.
Yeah, that's the problem. Where it's just like they say, like, oh, we're going to make this base building thing, but so firstly, that like the base building thing is completely irrelevant to how the actual main story, I guess you'd call it, of the game works, because you're never meant to stay in one place. So, and surely this like added stuff they're adding after the game's release can't be that extensive to make that worthwhile in a post-game sense.
I've heard stories of like quite a lot of stories actually about players that just choose not to really go anywhere.
Well,
and
sure.
It's like, well, what are they doing?
Well, you can just fly around and look at all the different things that are generated.
Because stuff around you that's nearby is no different to stuff like a long way away from you, is it?
I guess. Yeah. So I guess you're getting closer to the middle, and there aren't actually significant changes.
Well, I was never really certain about like how. The extreme weather planets and stuff, how those were laid out compared to traveling around. Because there was one star system I went to where all the planets were like quite extreme, and then I hadn't seen any for like 3 or 4 jumps, and I was like, this is kind of annoying because I need those extreme planets to get the good resources. And when you upgrade your ship's hyperdrive, there's like 3 specific upgrades and those allow you to warp to different colours of stars. And I went to each of the different colours, and I was like, these don't seem distinctly different from each other. They don't seem to have any higher likelihood of being extreme environments or anything, as far as I can tell. I still walk to a system that's like, oh, these planets are all boring again. So I don't know how that works exactly either. So yeah, just a lot of trundling around getting fuel for stuff. And I did also watch a video where it's just like someone was pointing out the really obvious, like, making a game mechanic and then realizing that it's annoying and then fixing it by adding stuff that completely negates the whole game mechanic.
Right.
Whereas, like, so when you're flying between planets, you have your pulse drive, which is like slower than, it's the one that you use to go between planets, basically. It's the fast but not hyperdrive.
Not impulse, but pulse.
Yeah, just pulse.
Yeah.
So you fly that between the planets, and that needs fuel, which you can harvest from various plants on the planets. You just pick this one specific, the red plant, gives you the fuel from the pulse drive. And so, like, they obviously put that mechanic in, where it's like you have to fuel your pulse drive to be able to travel between the planets. But then they realise, oh no, what if you run out of pulse fuel and you're really far away from a planet, and then you're fucked, because you can't go fast. So obviously the solution that they came up with for that was to fill all the space in between the planets with just an infinite asteroid field, and you could just shoot the asteroids to get fuel for your pulse drive. Completely negating the reason for the pulse drive having fuel at all. You might as well just make it not have fuel and you can just fly.
Right. Sort of. Yeah.
And you've covered all of space and asteroids for some reason.
Yeah, and you've covered the whole space in between every planet with asteroids, which looks really dumb if you think at all about space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like they made that mechanic where a thing runs out of fuel and then realised it would be really inconvenient if you ran out of fuel, so made it so you never run out of fuel. Except they did make it so you can never run out of fuel. They just made it so you have to stop and mine fuel annoyingly. It's not actually a good design.
No.
And that's how No Man's Sky is. It's all about fuel. Just shove shit into shit to fill up bars because it keeps running out all the time.
Sounds frustrating.
And that's also why at a certain point I realised, like, once you've got enough space in your inventory for all the upgrades you want, plus one stack of all the minerals that you use commonly, it's just like, there's no reason to have all this extra inventory space, because you don't need anything else. Like, you only need one stack of all the minerals, and only then as a convenience reserve, because you can pretty much land on any planet and find all the common materials. And there's nothing else to put in that inventory, unless you wanted to get cash. And at the point where you've fully upgraded your suit and your ship, don't need cash any longer. So there you go. That's No Man's Sky. Don't know if I'll ever actually bother to go to the centre of the galaxy.
Maybe give it a few updates and then come back to it.
Yeah, if it does update that much, I guess. We'll see.
It sounds like they have plans.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they have dumb plans where it's just like, why did you even release the game if it wasn't finished?
Budget, I guess. Like, they'll be feeding up updates with I guess their money is to try and get more players in.
I think that's it. Rob. I think that's the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that doesn't make sense because it's like, if that can't have been the plan. That must have just been like they got lucky, where it's just like a load of people bought it, more people than would have if they'd known how shallow it was. Maybe, I don't know.
It's their own fault, though.
They got lucky that Sony was willing to spend a bunch of marketing budget on them. So now they've got this extra cash that they can put back into the game because they want to appear that they're not ripping people off. It seems like it's a bit of a like closed loop in that sense. Which is like, because the game was small and the marketing was big, they got a bunch of extra money that they can now try and get into people's good books again.
That's not entirely uncommon. You could argue that something like Overwatch does the same thing by being a full-priced game with not a great deal of content, arguably.
But that's a massive...
And will eventually add more content to get players who are content worried.
I don't think that was...
Because it's a one-off cost. It's
really
not like a
the same
subscription.
thing.
It's like they're not too worried about some drop off.
I don't think that's
It's like
the
they
same
just want
thing
new
though, because I
players.
think that was just like, I don't think Overwatch overpromised. That's the main point with
Yeah.
No Man's Sky.
No, you're right.
It wasn't hyped up unnecessarily. It was hyped up sufficiently, and then the full price was like, "Oh, that's a bit dodgy, but it's fine because it's a quality product." And they said in advance that they'd make more.
Oh yeah, I in no way regret spending the money I have done on Overwatch. It's like I love it. I really do.
But in this case,
But I am aware that it's a little lacking in.
In this
Yeah,
case, it's
stuff.
like now that they're suddenly saying that they're going to add more to it, it's like, well, maybe you should have not released it and actually just finished making the game first.
Can you argue Splatoon is exactly the same thing? That launched with again. I guess it didn't overpromise. Again.
Well, and again with
it
Splatoon,
launched
it
with
was
not enough
another weird
content.
situation.
Well, that
where
was
it like,
forced.
Yeah.
They already had the content and staggered its release.
yeah,
that was a really bizarre one. Yeah.
so,
Man, I ended up watching speaking of Splatoon, I ended up watching I watched a Nintendo thing that they put up recently about they call it the Nindies. It's like, here are the indie games coming to Wii U, and it's like,
right.
you know what? It's actually a pretty good list. Like, they're getting the version of SteamWorld Heist that went to like PS4 recently.
Yeah,
They're getting it's like there's a new Shantae game being made where they've upped everything to not be quite so pixel arty. Those games are supposed to be all right. There was a cool little indie game called Dub Wars that looked cool, like dubstep space shooter. I'm all in. But that's also on Steam. Most of these are on Steam, by the way. They're just saying, "Hey, Wii U's getting a lot of this," and you're just like, and which then made me raise an eyebrow. And it's like, I don't think a lot of that is coming to many other platforms. Like, how did you do that, Nintendo? Like Jotun looks kind of cool. It's a bit like Below in its style, but a bit more hand drawn. Like Below, like when's that game coming out?
Yeah, exactly.
And the Wii U's getting a version of it. It's like somewhat impressive. But anyway, sidetrack. That then linked the follow-on video from that was then, hey, watch the Squid Sisters live shows.
Yeah,
And it's like, so I couldn't help but watch a bit of that. They were quite well done, as it turns out, for like a holographic show. They did actually have a live band playing the music, and then these holographs. Holograms. Holograms, quote, reflections on glass doing the dance routines, and they had some like to and fro quipping out of the game, and it's like, but I mean, it's all like, Splatoon. If only they kept updating that thing. I might still be playing it now.
well, they're surely going to make like a new one on the NX.
Oh, absolutely. Splatoon is going to stick around. It's done so well for Nintendo. Nintendo, are, by evidence of doing these silly live contents, they've latched on to the fact that this thing is popular. Like, it's done. It's a good brand for them.
So speaking of, I guess, slightly cheaper Nintendo-based games, except not actually by Nintendo, on a Nintendo system, I was looking in the 3DS eShop. This was meant to be in last podcast, but I forgot. This was the game that I knew I couldn't remember at the time, where I was like, I'm sure I played something else, and then I forgot about it. So I have been playing this for like 4 weeks at this point. But I was looking at the eShop, and I noticed that after 2 to 3 years, that Etrian Odyssey 4 game that I had talked about ages ago, practically when I first got the 3DS, and it's probably like at least 2 games old at this point in that series. It's like, that finally got cheap. And I was like, hooray.
Oh, I'll play that for
Price
real
drop.
now.
Play that.
That's the sort of, I want to call it a maze runner?
Yeah, it's like a dungeon, like sort of semi-classic dungeon crawler. It's quite a lot like, well, the only other game that I played that's similar is like the, what is that one on PC called?
Dada G. Was it?
Grimrock, that's it.
Yeah, there we go.
Legend of Grimrock. It's that same style of thing. It's where you can't see your characters. You're just like walking around a tile-based dungeon, and then the enemies appear in front of you and you fight them. And
Fight them in the
experience
face.
points and all that stuff.
Yeah.
One of them. And then it has the slightly unusual-ish gimmick of like you just draw the maps on the bottom screen. like it auto fills in the ground as you're walking along. That if there's water or walls and stuff, you can draw those in yourself.
Oh, that game, right? With you,
which is kind of nice. But so far, I mean, I've only got.
Is there a blimp?
What
In the overworld?
You fly a little airship thing. So yeah, so far it's been like that's cool, but so far it's been kind of irrelevant. There's been no like puzzles or anything involved with drawing the map. Except for occasionally where it's like, there's some level over there that I'm going to get to, so I have to work out where the secret entrance will be.
Right.
Because there's like hidden holes in the wall and stuff in certain places. So you can sometimes work out where those are going to be by looking at the map and saying, there's probably a path over here somewhere. But most of the time it's just like, it's not, as so far it hasn't been critical to fill in the map or anything.
It's just something you can do.
Yes, it's just a nice thing to do. Casually draw it. Also, there's a weird thing that I haven't worked out yet where sometimes the maps get stamped as like completed or something, maybe. But I haven't worked out whether that's I've drawn a complete map or whether it's like a story thing where it's like you've cleared out this dungeon.
Oh, I see. Right.
I haven't quite figured that out yet.
There's a stamp of you don't need to come here.
Yeah. But of course, you actually kind of maybe do want to go back because it has a weird crafting system where, like, all the loot drops you get off enemies are like materials, basically, and you sell them to the shop, and then you can only buy items that you've sold materials for, I guess. You have to supply the shop with the materials to be able to make the items.
Oh, I see.
So there's sometimes reason to be like, I need to go and kill a few more of this one specific type of enemy so I can buy a couple more of whatever their drop makes.
Yeah, so there's a reason to grind, is what you're saying.
And then there's also a reason to grind where it's just generally quite difficult.
All right, so you want the XP.
You want to just level up a bit sometimes. You just want to get a bit higher to make sure you're going to be sufficiently strong to survive. So yeah, that's quite a casual little game so far. And also I'm not really...
Is it scratching the sort of Pokemon dungeon itch, that same sort of thing?
Not really. I mean, it's something different, but it's just like a convenient thing to do on the 3DS sometimes. A game that you can do in small chunks, and you can just save wherever.
Oh, cool.
It creates like a pause save, so it just deletes it when you reload. Kind of save system.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that.
So yeah, played some of that. It's all right. Don't know how big it is yet, so it's just it's
how
like
long will it last?
Now that it's not a full price game.
Yeah.
Have I made the right decision? Where it's like now that it's cheap, it's actually worth this much, or will it be actually a good price?
So was it full priced right up until this current sale or whatever?
As far as I know, yeah.
And what is cheap in?
It's like £9.
Oh, okay, that's all right. That's
down from like 34 as it used to be.
As Nintendo games always seem to be. Yeah.
Except it's not. It's not a first party game. It's Atlas.
Yeah.
It's just weird that it's suddenly changed price. It's not even a sale. I think it's just like now it's just this price.
I'm intrigued to see what this like going back to the fast racing DLC. Like I'm intrigued to see how much they charge for that because like the base game was only like £12. Like it was a bargain for what that game is.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's not a massive game, but I got way more enjoyment out of it than £12 usually carries. So it's like, oh, what's their DLC price going to be? If it's a like a $5 or whatever, or it's probably like near 6 or 7, knowing Ninty. But like, given that it's half the content that the game already has, again, a bit like the Mario Kart DLC.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like £6-7, I'm probably in again. The game's so cool. I heard like one of the things they're adding is like it has quote unquote soundtrack options, and it's like, ooh, what does that entail? The soundtrack to that game is pretty awesome. Like, I want to know what you've done. Like, is there like a whole alternate soundtrack now? That would be awesome.
You can turn it.
Yeah. I should check in with Formula Fusion properly at this point, like soon, because it's getting. I think they've now said that game was originally supposed to have been out. I think. Well, like middle of August. It's supposed to have been out like yesterday, I think, from what I remember. And like I'm not sure I found anything concrete, but it does sound like that game's got like a whole another year, they reckon, until it actually is out. So I guess they've put the air brakes on it a little bit, but it sounds like this may be the last opportunity, or they might be getting to the point where they need to start raising the early access price because they're using language like we think the current price is suitable for the amount of content that's in the game. In one of their more recent updates, so it's like, oh, okay, that probably means that as more content gets added to it, you're going to bump it up. And they have said that it will be a full retail price game when it launches.
Right.
So it's what, 15 now on Steam to get in on early access. So I don't know. I like those guys. It's the remnants of Studio Liverpool and Psygnosis and the Wipeout team, and it's like, maybe I need to go in now. But I still don't know if that game's going to be any good. By all accounts, it sounds like it's getting better every update they do. Moving in the right direction and that kind of stuff. But something about it just looks a bit off to me. I can't describe it. Like from the videos I've seen, it doesn't seem quite there, and I'm not 100% sure what my problem is with it. Maybe if I get my hands on it, I'll be able to tell. But that's 15 quid worth of hands on, which I really shouldn't complain about, given how much pizza we eat.
Yes, obviously.
Sometimes it's that sort of
you
stupid
just always
logic,
have to
right?
compare everything to pizza. That's how you know how much stuff is worth. Oh, this is worth 15 pizzas.
It is a kind of bonkers scale, right? Because I have no qualms about when it comes to it going, yeah, we'll just go out for food, or yeah, we'll get 30 quid's worth of pizza or whatever. And it's like that. So it would just be like, yeah, we'll do that. Bing, there you go. I hear, and then there's me saying like, oh, do I really want to spend £15 on a game? And it's like, I suppose I've got to be good with my money in some way, some non-cheese based way. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's silly when you think of it like that. Like the other aspect is like, well, I've got hundreds of games. Why do I need to buy any more?
And yet you still keep getting those humble bundles. God damn it.
Well, there's a certain support element to it, and yeah, I kind of like throwing more stuff in the A to Z list.
Are you guys going to buy and play and do a video of Worms so that you can have another popular video?
My original plan is that we would slowly work our way through the Worms library, because I have the vast majority of it thanks to a Team 17 Humble Bundle.
But everybody knows that, like,
they just get to a point where they're all the same, right?
Well, yeah. And as evidenced by our YouTube channel, people only actually care about the original.
Yeah.
Worms 2.
The Worms 2 video didn't do so
We
well.
don't give a crap.
Yeah. Everyone was all about that Worms United. Well, maybe it's because it was Worms United, and United was a bit of a, like, not necessarily the main, as well-known a version.
Well...
Even if it was just the first.
Even?
Worms United is basically Worms United is basically Worms 1 and Worms Reinforcements sort of mashed into a single package.
Okay.
But Reinforcements didn't really change that much. Just added a few things. It was like most
of what
packs.
I guess most of what you'd call Worms' mainstays came from Reinforcements, I guess, like in terms of customization options. Like,
sure.
A lot of that was missing from the original.
Boggy B.
Yeah. And his name was Boggy B. He dropped a landmine on his head. Because that's how landmines work.
Standard Worms procedure.
I think it was dynamite, wasn't it?
I think he dropped dynamite on his head, but there was definitely a landmine involved. I think he stood on it.
Oh, yeah, there was a
stood on
landmine.
it.
Yeah. I quite like the idea of dropping a landmine on someone's head.
Well, that's how it does actually work in Worms.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the story, but that's definitely how it works in the game.
Yeah.
You can just put a landmine directly on them and it'll still work.
Unless you're like really turtling up and you landmine your own exit. Oh, man. Yeah, we could do more of those. I'd sort of be up for doing more of those. Make a Worms playlist.
But as I said, I don't think it's actually worth it after 2, because that's when everything just becomes the same over and over, more or less.
Well, we're up to Armageddon next. So it's... Well, then you got things like, well, what was Armageddon? Then did it go 3D after Armageddon?
It did, but then the 3D ones were terrible.
Well, yeah, but I've never played them. So, like, that'd be a video, right? We should definitely do videos. And then they went back. They left that thinking it was bad. And then they sort of went back to it relatively recently, going, hey, let's try that 3D thing again. And it was the same as it was before.
Yep.
The Worm series is odd. It's like how it. Although apparently the last two have been a bit more okay than like they've actually changed things, like adding water physics and. Well, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Or much of a good thing.
Oh, classes. They added classes, didn't they?
Yeah. Also kind of pointless.
Yeah. So you have a
Worms
team.
context.
You have a team of 4 different abilitied worms.
Except not really ability, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
like movement and health.
Yeah, might be.
So, everyone can still use the guns.
Yeah.
Because you just need to use the gun.
Super Sheeps. Patsy's Magic Bullet. Concrete Donkey. Better be a Concrete Donkey.
I don't think the Concrete Donkey's been as good in recent ones. Because they made it less predictable. Because before it'd just be like, whack.
Yeah, everything underneath you is going to die.
But now it's like it bounces and explodes. So it like generally goes downwards via explosions, but the explosions can propel it sideways.
Oh, right.
It's like that's much less predictable.
Does it keep going until it, or does it like?
Well, it goes all the way to the bottom, yeah,
Okay,
but it just doesn't necessarily go exactly straight down.
where you want it. Okay.
And it's also smaller.
That game always had an element of random to it.
That's why the Concrete Donkey was the ultimate weapon. It was guaranteed to murder everything in this column.
That wasn't Patsy's Magic Bullet that as well. Like it wouldn't hit the ground until it. Like,
Well,
it was like a
got
homing missile.
completely lost.
Yeah.
Not like the homing pigeon, which would just smack into anything. 'cause it was
Yeah,
retarded.
it went too fast. It's go whoa. Yeah. We've got 2 more videos on the way to go up on the site.
Oh yeah.
Doing some plugging. We haven't talked about what you've been playing. Is there anything you want to do actually before I get to the plugging at the end of the show?
No, really, it can wait.
Okay. So part 5 of Sonic Heroes went up fairly recently.
Yeah.
I managed to find a screen grab of someone with their hands open. So
Yep.
there we go. Keep that going. And we've got Contraption Maker from the people behind The Incredible Machine, making basically The Incredible Machine 4, or whatever it would be.
Yeah.
There's that to come, and we've also done part 6 of Sonic Heroes already.
Yep.
Partly because I'm desperate to get through that thing now, just so we don't have to look at it again.
Yep, we've got to get through it. And we're still less than 50% of the way through
Oh
it,
my
technically.
God.
Except not really.
Game's so bad.
It's not that bad.
It's not the worst Sonic game
No.
I've played.
Oh, I did want to sorry, I just remembered. I just want to ask what you think of the idea of the Deus Ex game or whatever, given that none of us have played it or whatever. Like,
What do you mean the idea of the game?
Do
The
we
idea
wanna-
of Deus Ex is cool.
are we excited about, or do we care about the new one, Seg? Like, because I get
You
a feeling
liked
it's
the
going to be.
last.
Yeah, I like the last one, but I get a feeling this is going to be similar in that the main story is going to be rubbish, but the gameplay is going to be good, and the like individual missions might be good, like or quests kind of thing.
Well, I feel like
And
it's
it
going to be
looks
one of
good.
those, like parts of it are probably going to be okay. It's
Yeah.
the same trouble that the first one had, where it's
Yeah.
like, sometimes when the level design is good, it all comes together, and it's like,
Exactly.
then it works, but other times it's like, oh, this is just boring generic stealth.
Did you see that post on minor spoilers, I guess? They put an Easter egg in the game taking the piss out of Sega.
No.
Well, there's basically a game on a shelf at one point in the game where it's just got Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles. Copyright 2029 Sega.
Okay. That doesn't even make any sense.
No.
No.
It's not like they've done that for a while, but it's just like Sonic. It's just basically, it has like Knuckles the Echidna at the top of the box in big letters, and then the main title below in the Sonic 3 style was just Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles.
I think there's something about their French Canadianness that just makes the writing all a bit off and weird, and not like the jokes aren't funny and stuff. Or not that Deus Ex games need jokes. In fact, the original Deus Ex was always really po-faced and kind of
But that was
weird.
what made it funny, though.
Yeah,
'cause
which
was
made
bad.
it funny. Yeah, because it was bad. But they haven't quite kept it up in quite the same way. Or like, I don't know. There's something amazing about the shitness of the original Deus Ex, like storyline stuff, the conspiracy stuff. It literally had every conspiracy they could think of. They put in the game, right?
Chemtrails.
Like it's I think there's chemtrails in there. I think probably It's got the Illuminati. It's got FEMA. It's got
Probably didn't have 9/11.
aliens. Area 51.
I'm just saying.
Well, it did, didn't it? Like 2 years before, didn't it? Because the towers are mysteriously not there in the background texture.
Yes.
Anyway,
Wow.
that was because they ran out of memory or something. Anyway,
They could make a more advanced repeating texture.
Or
They
they
had
could-
to sample a small area.
Wasn't it just a matte background? They could have just put it in. Oh.
it was a repeated Manhattan because they had to have Manhattan.
They didn't have a 360 skybox or whatever.
Well, I can't remember because you're on Ellis Island, aren't you? No, not Ellis Island, Liberty Island, obviously.
Yeah.
And so presumably Manhattan is meant to be just on one side, right? So you're meant to look at.
Yeah.
I don't know. And anyway, the
Weird.
story goes that they had a texture and it didn't get included for memory reasons or something.
Weird.
Yeah, anyway, and of course
There should have been just like a single checkbox somewhere in the game to say enable twin towers. Someone's probably patched that in.
Yeah, probably by now. Anyway, yes. Sorry to derail, but I'm wondering whether to buy that and play that, given that I know that probably story will be crap because the game's probably quite good.
I haven't played the first one, but based on you two's recommendations, I get the feeling I would probably still have an okay time of it, especially given my
I
recent
think you'd quite like it. Yeah.
my recent affiliation for more stealthy games. Like,
Yeah, I think you'd be into it.
But I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like super hype about this
No.
new one, just because I'm like should I play the first one first before the new one? And the new one sounds like it's much of the same.
Yeah, I also have suspicions about like this new one where because it's a continuation, it's like how much more interest can they milk out of the like augmentations again?
Yeah.
I mean, it was already like when you're coming to this new DSX compared to the old one, it's like obviously some of these augmentations are going to be similar because that's just
Sure.
them rebooting rather than sequeling exactly. But in the second one of this same universe, it's like how much more can they really come up with other than like the Death Sphere ball bearing
Yeah.
and like the stupid melee?
Well, there's,
I guess they got a few
now, isn't
more.
there? Or did they have cloaking? No, they did have cloaking.
Yeah, they have
They
cloak.
did have
But
cloak.
now they have that dumb armor skin thing.
Yeah.
It's just like
There's like a cool
Well,
dash, isn't there?
like-
Like a traversal mechanic that looks
Sure.
quite cool.
it's like you don't want the armor skin because you're not meant to be in combat.
Yeah.
And every time they add an augmentation which is for combat, it's like or any combat stuff, it's like this is not how this is meant to be.
I mean, are you still worried that they've watered down the game because they're going for that play how you want
Yeah.
thing?
Because it's just like they can't do any one part of it sufficiently well.
Well, it looks
They
like
spread out too much.
they've just built on every part of it to
Well,
do
yeah,
that.
but
So that's the theory.
like-
Is that
but
it's
that's
better-
sort of the trouble.
But then do you still believe every part is lacking?
Yeah, it's just like that's the trouble of making a direct sequel to this, where it's just like if it's just more of the same, it's not actually going to progress.
But technically it'll be like a generation jump, right? So it should
Yeah.
be like,
It looks
like,
pretty
no.
nice.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's
I'm just
not
worried.
how-
I
Not in
think they
terms of
should have.
gameplay, but just visually. Yeah.
They were saying this on Rock Paper Shotgun. Well, not this exactly, but like it's annoying that I don't really have any great love for Adam Jensen. They could have ditched him and had a new character. Like
Well,
his
yeah.
story- yeah. I mean,
and also it would have made a lot more sense.
yeah, because they
Because
basically
what the
shoot
fuck happened at the
conned
end of
him
this game? You remember that?
I mean,
Yeah.
He probably didn't ask to be in the sequel, right?
No.
in.
And like again with the story of the first game and its dumbness.
Yeah, and it's
It's like-
dumbness, shitness. Yeah.
What is the canonical ending of that?
Yeah. Who cares?
How does he get off that stupid
The boat?
Arctic ring facility?
Oh, not the boat.
Whatever the
Yeah.
fuck that was.
Yeah. Well, I think they gloss over it at the start of this game and be like, yeah, it's like the same guy, but now for
Is it
some
like
reason.
is it like
he
the
works
start of
for
Halo
Interpol.
2 where it's just like how did you get up how did you get off the planet, Johnson? It's
Yeah.
like how did you get off the first Halo?
I don't even remember
It's classic.
exactly what all the different outcomes of the end of the first game were.
No, they weren't as earth-shatteringly crazy as at the end of Deus Ex, where you...
No.
The choice at the end of Deus Ex is like, destroy all technology and send humanity back to the Dark Ages, right? Become literally a god, or like, rule the world, secret society style, right?
Yeah.
They were the choices, yeah. And then the
I can't
canonical
remember
ending for that is the god ending, right? Because there's a sequel, Invisible
Yeah.
War, that relies on I think I never really played it, but I think in that JC Denton became the machine god or whatever, and basically
Icarus
ruled the
thing.
world. Yeah, the Icarus, Daedalus, Helios thingy.
I remember the word Daedalus being in that game. Yeah.
But yeah, in Human Revolution, I don't. It like blow up the thing or don't, and then there was a third option. I don't remember. And also, I don't remember what the importance of blowing up.
And it was literally like press a button. You didn't even have to go. At least in Deus Ex, you had to go to a different part of the facility of Area 51 to activate the different endings. Like they were quite relatively far apart. Not really that far, but. You did. It wasn't literally here are 3 buttons, press 1.
And I don't remember what the significance of blowing up the thing or not was, or what it's like something to do with human augmentation. Like because there was a weird midway through that game, there was a point where it's like, oh, there's some kind of wireless transmission that's fucking up everyone's augmentations.
Yeah. Well, that's what this whole new game
their legs don't work any longer.
is based on, right? This new game is the aftermath of that. Ending of the last game, right? But I don't know what the actual choice makes any difference. Probably none at all.
Yes, what the canonical ending in the first game was.
Yeah.
Presumably not blow up the thing so you die. Because I'm pretty sure that was a suicide, right? You blew up the station with you in it.
I don't know, man. Yeah, they should have... Yeah. Anyway, but I'm still debating. Should I buy it and play it? I've got some time. Got some free time.
Wait until Christmas sale. At
Do you
least.
think?
Well, you've got to get in for the 2016 Game of the Year is the problem.
Yes.
Or do you reckon they'll do a full sale? Like,
well, they could, but it might not go on sale at that point.
No,
it's quite new.
Not.
Yeah.
No. And they might lop. If you're lucky, sometimes they'll do a 33, won't they, on some new games?
Yeah, maybe.
Depends how well it sells, because it's kind of
Yeah,
it's got some bad press, hasn't it? About its pre-order thing was insane.
Yeah, and now it's got microtransactions for no reason, which don't affect the game, but still, it's annoying.
Well,
Dead
that's
Space
what
3.
yeah. It's fine that they don't affect it though, but still probably
shit.
shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Why would I buy Praxis points with real money? That's insane.
Praxis.
Yeah, that's the upgrade stuff.
Augmentation canisters.
Yeah, they were cool. They were like weird blue glowy thingies. And you needed a medical bot to install them.
In.
Yeah. Which, even that didn't really make that much sense.
No, it made at least in Human Revolution you actually... Oh no, you instantly upgrade, don't you, with the practice points?
You just get the ability.
Yeah.
Even though it's not even meant to be like nanobots or anything in Human Revolution, it's just like regular augmentation.
Yeah, because it's meant to be more primitive, which doesn't really work because you're an insane badass for some reason.
Canon isn't really that game's strong point.
No, well, it was basically a soft reboot, wasn't it? Like, it doesn't really have much to do with... Although at the very end of the last game, there was you did hear the voices of, didn't you? The baddies from Deus Ex, didn't you, Zeg? Mandalay talks or something. Is it Mandalay or...
I don't remember.
Who's the bad guy? Who's the bad guy in Deus Ex? What's his name?
Jim.
That guy.
Yeah, I think you hear him talking to... It's Walton Simons, isn't it? Talking to the main bad guy. I think you hear them talking at the end, so I don't know how that plays into this one. Probably not at all.
Well, it would be nice if in this new game suddenly Gunther turns up. He should be
Gunther,
viable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he'll be like old augmentation style, not Nano.
Or Anna Navarra.
They totally should exist in this game. You can talk about orange squash or whatever.
I wanted orange. It gave me lemon lime.
Just any excuse to get a Russian voice in there, though.
Yeah.
He was German. He was legit. Yeah.
I know. Your impression there sounded kind of Russian.
Yeah, it probably did.
Well, Anna Navarra was meant to be Russian, right?
Yeah, Anna Navarra was Russian, I think.
Oh, was he? Oh, okay. Well, I got there somewhere.
That's the other half of that conversation. Anyway, yes. So, I don't know. I might play that, but maybe wait for the sale. Okay, cool. Decided.
I think at this point, I'd be more tempted to just play the original again.
I know, but I've played that too many times, and it looks...
I don't mean the original, I mean the previous
Oh, Human Revolution, yeah. I was playing that recently, so...
Also the original as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Except I never get far enough through the fucking original. I always start
It's really long.
Don't get that far.
Like, it's long, man. The original game.
I never finished it. I got to Paris, I think.
Oh, that's like more than halfway, I think. But that's quite... Because,
I think I got the sword, and it wasn't long after that.
That's
So was that in Paris?
Hong Kong.
Yeah, you have-
That's in
yeah,
Hong
you
Kong.
have
Oh, okay.
That's
You have to
earlier.
get through Hong Kong to get to Paris.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I definitely
Or
got
one
to
of the
Paris.
times you go through Hong Kong. Anyway.
That's that whole Maggie Chow business, which is slightly racist. Anyway. Yes. Thanks, and look out for those videos that we described about 50 minutes ago. And we'll catch you for the next podcast in a couple of weeks.
Are we going to get a bye from Zach? Are we?
It's not even time to get pizzas yet.
No,
Well, it could be.
I'm
could
pretty
be.
hungry.
We'll see.
Bye.
Bye-bye.